What is up, folks? We are now live officially. Welcome back to another podcast. If you're watching the recording and watching live, make sure to hit the like button, gets us up in the algorithm. And if you're brand new to the channel, of course, hit the sub button to become part of the family as well. Got some pre-live stream questions that have been asked, but of course, as you guys have watched this before, just gotta let the people know real quick that we are live and get this party started. Essentially, give me 1 second, folks. We shall begin. Some good questions were asked, and we'll begin after I let these people know. What's going on, Mahito? What's going on, Luis? Thanks for coming in. How are you folks doing? Thanks for coming in. What's going on, Kedrick? Thanks for coming in as well. All right, I'll let the people know that we are live. So let's begin. So the first question, I think it's important to discuss this one because it's a very highly discussed one in the Naruto fandom. KCM2 Naruto versus Sage Mode Hashirama. Alright, so this is my take on it. Admittedly, my assessment of this has changed over time. It has fluctuated over time. But I now have a more concrete conclusion when I looked into it further. So we have to keep these things in mind when determining this scenario. So EMS Sasuke and KCM2 Naruto were illustrated fighting evenly against Jubito and other enemies on a consistent basis, right? So Kishimoto had that happen to imply relativity. So these two guys were relative in ability, right? EMS Sasuke and KCM2 Naruto. We can all agree with that. Furthermore, Sasuke specifically is stated to be inferior to a live Madara by both Orochimaru and Tobirama. Orochimaru says this guy has the potential to surpass Madara, indicating that he hasn't reached that summit yet, right? Indicating he hasn't reached that summit, which implies inferiority. Tobirama as well says, oh, he has the potential of Madara, which again we can extrapolate and deduce he means that he's not at his level yet, but he has the potential to reach that summit. Right, so that's an important distinction as well. So these guys imply that EMS Sasuke is inferior to Madara. So transitively, we can imply Naruto's inferior to Madara. Why? Because he was relative to EMS Sasuke. And another important fact is, empirically speaking, Hashirama is classified as being equal in strength to Madara, as indicated by the data books. That was stated in the data books that they're equal in strength. So, from all this, you can deduce and conclude that Hashirama would most likely beat Naruto. Hashirama, a live Hashirama especially, would most likely defeat KCM2 Naruto. Right, empirically speaking, it seems to be implied that he's superior, and also rationally, I mean, he has the ability to sedate tailed beasts. He can sedate them. He has the type of chakra or whatever to actually sedate them and make them less of a threat. You know, he slayed all the tailed beasts. That would be detrimental to Naruto in the event that they were to battle. So, all in all, Hashirama would have much success against KCM2 Naruto, most likely defeat him. So, in the past, I fluctuated between the two, but when I did my homework on it, it is implied that Hashirama is superior. I mean, at this point in time, right, with these versions of Naruto and Sasuke, they had the potential to surpass Madara and Hashirama, but they weren't there yet. That probably didn't happen until once they got 6 path powers, to be quite honest, arguably. It happened around that time. So that's a good discussion to be had, right? I'm sure either way there's an argument for Naruto as well, but I think the one that I was able to extrapolate and kind of construe together is a pretty good one, if you're discussing with someone about that topic. But if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask, folks, by the way, and hit the like button if you just came in. I appreciate it. Any questions at all? Someone said, my opinion, both Naruto and Bleach are planetary level, with exceptions of Ewok and altering the future. Yeah, I can't really give my assessment on that yet because I haven't seen all of Bleach yet. I haven't seen where they peak as far as power scaling. I'm about 35% way done with it. But continuing on. So the next one is one that I don't think is really discussed. It's Gamabunta versus Gamaken. So these are summons that we're talking about, Naruto. So I haven't really thought about this, but despite them most likely being relative in terms of speed and agility, due to Gamabunta's seemingly wider arsenal, which we've seen empirically, I think you could argue, and the fact that he's the chief of the crew, right, the chief Toad, you would only rationally assume that he would probably beat Gamaken, so Gamabunta would probably beat him. That's my quick dissection of that one. I mean, I think rationally it makes sense as well. So continuing on, let's see. This is another question about summons. Could any trio of summons give a tailed beast a run for its money? Well, rationally, you're going to come to the conclusion the Sannin summons working together is probably the best, right? They've worked in conjunction before, so they have that chemistry because of the 3 Sannin. So I would deduce that those 3 would probably have the most success against the tailed beast, right? Manda, Tsunade's slug, and Gamabuta. They probably had the most success. Makes sense rationally speaking as well. So, alright folks, if you guys have any questions, by the way, folks, feel free to ask. There weren't as many pre-live stream questions, so if you do want your questions answered in the future and more in depth, ask before the stream. That way I can actually, further research it, because I have time to prepare, right? If you ask me live, I could still give a good answer, but it won't be as in depth. So, I'm continuing on here. The next one that I was asked was Killer Bee, Kisame, and Jiraiya versus Tobirama and Hiruzen. So that's an interesting one. But this would be my take on this. So if we're assuming these characters are in their prime, then I think the following scaling makes sense and can be used to calculate them as far as where they land on the power scaling totem pole, right? So Killer Bee scales below Kisame. Kisame beat him, makes sense. Who scales below Jiraiya, as evident by him explicitly stating that he would die if he fought Jiraiya in part 1. So that's him explicitly acknowledging his inferiority to Jiraiya in part 1. With Jiraiya scaling around Orochimaru's level, who scales somewhere slightly below Old Man Hiruzen. He needed Edo Tensei help, right? So he had outside help to help him deal with Old Man Hiruzen, which implies inferiority, arguably. So that means Orochimaru and Jiraiya scale slightly below Orochimaru. They're relative, but I would say they still scale below him. Right, so now Prime Hiruzen is stated to be superior to Tobirama in the data books, with Tobirama easily scaling above Tsunade based off empirical evidence, which are their feats. It's clear who has the most impressive feats between those two. So, Tsunade is also relative to the 3 Sannin, right? Because she's part of the 3, clearly. Hence, through the property of transitivity, Hiruzen and Tobirama scale above those 3. They scale above Killer Bee, Kisame, and Jiraiya, and together working in conjunction would most likely win. So I think that scaling makes sense. Empirically and rationally, you can scale them above those 3, and then you could deduce and conclude, well, they would most likely beat those 3. Right? They all scale below those 2. Killer Bee, Kisame, and Jiraiya all scale below those 2 in their primes, respectively. So. Alright, well, that was a good question. Again, feel free to ask any questions, folks, in the chat live, if you please. I'll keep answering these until you guys do. If you could reanimate someone who wasn't in the war, who would you pick? That's a good question. Someone that I would pick. Maybe Jiraiya. Jiraiya would be interesting to see how that would go. How the narrative would be told with him being part of the war arc. Shishui is another possibility, but his Kodo would be very problematic. That's probably why Kishimoto didn't allow his reanimation, because if he uses the Kodo on the right person, the Shinobi Alliance will lose the war. Imagine if he used Kodo on Sasuke or Naruto. The war's done. So that's why he didn't reanimate Shishui, but it still would have been interesting to see that. So Jiraiya or Shishui are probably like the most intriguing as far as what they would be able to accomplish narratively, and of course who they would be able to defeat would also answer some questions as well. That's a good question, but anyway, folks, keep asking questions if you have any. Again, super chat questions are prioritized, so I answer those right away, and more in depth, to be fair. So continuing on, though, this is a Dragon Ball question. And again, continue to ask questions if you have any. I'll just keep answering these until then. So someone asked, how much potential would Goku Black have, and what would he be capable of, since he's Goku's Saiyan body? So that's an interesting question. But this is what my conclusion would be to that. If you guys remember, Vegeta did state that Goku Black wasn't the real Goku, that he didn't go through all the trials and tribulations Goku went through. And he seems to be implying that's why Goku Black couldn't optimally use Goku's body when Vegeta got the upper hand during that time. He's essentially implying that despite him being, a clone of Goku or whatever, however you want to perceive it, he was an imperfect clone. Because Saiyans have the tenacity, they have the potential, they have the ferocity, and they have all their battle experience to learn and also get more powerful from, physically speaking. So Vegeta was basically implying you might be in his body, but you're not able to optimally use it, at least compared to Goku himself. So I would say his potential would be lower than that of Goku. It's probably still quite high. I mean, he did accomplish some very impressive feats, but I think he's a poor man's Goku to some extent as far as power scaling. In my opinion, from a Vegeta statement, that's what I can extrapolate from his statement. That's what he's basically saying, is that you're poor man's Goku. You're not real Goku, and that's why I'm able to get the upper hand on you right now. So, someone said, I wish Kisame was there, but that doesn't make sense. True. That's also another one. That would have been interesting as well to see what would take place. Alright, folks, that might be all the pre-live stream questions. Again, there wasn't very many that were asked this time. So feel free to ask your questions to continue the show. So I'll give you guys a few moments, and as that takes place, I guess I'll give my update on Bleach so far. I've been watching Bleach recently. I think I'm in the Arrancar arc, learning about Aizen's organization, how he ranks his generals, right, like the captains, and how he ranks the people below that. The thing with Bleach so far is that the power scaling seems more inconsistent. It seems Ichigo's ability fluctuates constantly, and it's hard to put a finger on what exactly he's capable of, right? I mean, in the early Bleach, he fucking arguably beat Kenpachi, which is ridiculous. He was already accomplishing that early in Bleach just from like 12 days of training or something like that, right? And now he's struggling with people inferior to captains, right? And again, you could argue, well, these captains aren't all equal in strength, which I agree, but it's hard to put a finger on the power scaling. It seems that isn't as emphasized, at least not yet from my eye. But Bleach is good. I like the narrative. I like Aizen. He seems like a cold character. So far, so good. Naruto Sixth Path versus Natsu from Fairy Tail. I'm not very familiar with Fairy Tail, so I probably couldn't give you an answer on that. Alright. Bearamo Naruto versus Saiyan Saga Vegeta. Saiyan Saga Vegeta had the potential to destroy the Earth with his blast, right? And when he was fighting off Goku's blast when he was in Kaioken, I would probably top him off around large planet level, right? So that's where you could kind of place him as far as power scaling on the power scaling totem pole AP category. As far as Bearamo Naruto, think about this: Kaguya can be safely placed around solar system level, right? Her expansive truth-seeking orb was enough to, as stated by, I believe, Black Zetsu, absorb an entire dimension. And that dimension had, from observational evidence, it had stars, it seemed to have moons and planets, which implies some arbitrary sized solar system. Hence, she's around solar system level. And I'll also take into account that a commonality in Naruto is the increasing difficulty of villains, right? As the main characters evolve and become more powerful, it only makes sense that the villains increase in difficulty as well. So you can only deduce that these characters can be placed even higher than Kaguya. Like someone like Ishiki. Ishiki is the top of the Otsutsuki totem pole, right? It's implied, it's explicitly shown on one of these stone tablets that we see. So clearly, he's above that. As far as how much above, that's ambiguous, but he's clearly above Kaguya. So Bearamo Naruto beat the shit out of Ishiki, right? That was quite possibly the biggest power-up I've ever seen in Naruto, even bigger than 8 Gates My Guy, arguably, right? He beat Ishiki down. So you can place him on the AP totem pole even higher than Ishiki. So I think giving him a safe placement, he's at anywhere from solar system to galaxy level. That would be, I wouldn't go any higher than galaxy level because that would be kind of a stretch, and there isn't enough, empirically speaking, to rationally deduce that. But he's around anywhere from solar system to galaxy level. He's around that range of energy output in AP. And now Vegeta is clearly way and beyond inferior to that. So Baron Naruto would take him out. Probably whip his ass. It would essentially be, think about it like this. Perfect Cell, right? Or not Perfect Cell, but yeah, Perfect Cell and the Cell arc fighting Super Saiyan Vegeta from the Saiyan arc. That's what basically it would be to some extent. Maybe give or take a little different, but that's how it would go. Badly. Obviously, he gets fucking exterminated. So, how are you feeling? You know, ambitious as always. It's important to feel that way when you're on the grind. Who are you debating? I have a debate coming out today on an IRL topic. It'll be up tonight. We already did the debate, and it'll be up to you guys to decide who won the debate. That's all I'll say about that to not spoil it. Merged Zamasu versus God of Destruction Topo. That's a good question because it took Vegito to take him out, right? Vegito was the one that really pressed Merged Zamasu. And Vegito is clearly superior to Goku and Vegeta individually. So the question is, have they improved enough to the point where individually they're above that Vegito, right? Because that Vegito had two weaker versions of those respective characters. It's hard to kind of quantify that, right? It's hard to quantify exactly. I think there's an argument for both sides, but rationally I would still lean towards God of Destruction Topo. Rationally, of course, it's impossible to quantify these multipliers and these numerical values to assess clear, power scaling progression for Goku and Vegeta, because that's the real part you have to answer that question. But so I would learn, but rationally, I would choose Topo. Vegeta was planet level without Zaru. Will you watch Naruto versus Ichigo animation that Seth is making when it's finished? From what I heard it's canceled. That's what I heard. I saw a clip of him himself saying it's canceled. People mad at him for it, whatever. I don't know the exact details, but from my understanding, it's canceled, which sucks. Lowballing Kagi is star level. Agreed. Lowballing, he should star level. I cannot wait to talk in the live show. Yeah, I was going to do it, but the co-host kind of flaked low-key. I don't think Baryon mode is throwing hands with old school Broly, but maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, Broly's scales at a pretty absurd level, even old school Broly. He was fodderizing, Super Saiyan Vegeta and Goku. So there's a good argument for that probably. How do you cope with anxiety and fear? I think the best way from my subjective lens to deal with that is just endure, because a lot of people don't realize that discomfort is your friend, right? Because to achieve anything difficult, discomfort is a prerequisite to that. You're going to be uncomfortable on the grind, whether it's the gym, your career, whatever the case may be, even relationships, whatever. Enduring is the best way to cope. Masking those things and avoiding them does not cope. It's not a good coping mechanism. You're only delaying the inevitable breakdown of your own mind. So best way is just to face it. Which type of martial art, in your opinion, is the best overall? The best martial art to learn overall, if we're talking about street fights, maybe something like kickboxing. It gives you the ability to throw hands and also efficiently throw kicks that can be very detrimental to your opponent's health, right? Knock them out with a head kick, maybe take them out with a side kick to the knee, take out their knee. Muay Thai is another one as well. So I think one of the striking martial arts that involve all 8 limbs are probably the best. Kickboxing, Muay Thai, those are probably the 2 best in a real street fight, right? Where guys will do anything. Ground game obviously would be beneficial, but most fights start on the feet, right? You get in a fight with someone at a store or at the bar or something. You guys are going to start standing. So if you can knock them out, you avoid any ground or any grappling exchange anyway. So you can't do the calling by yourself. If this happens again, I probably will do it by myself because they helped me set up last time, but I'll figure it out next time on my own. So if they flake, I'll do it on my Taekwondo or Muay Thai are probably the best. Taekwondo is a good one as well. I know some pretty badass Taekwondo high degree black belts. Do you know a martial art? Yeah, from a very young age, I learned. I was in mixed martial arts at a very young age, so I got a little bit of jiu-jitsu, a little bit of wrestling, kickboxing, but then I stuck with boxing only, right? Because it just caught my eye more. So I did that for several years, so nearly a decade of that. A year or two of MMA, and about a decade or so of boxing. So, yeah. If Naruto and Sasuke were to destroy any planet, small or large, what jutsu or ability do you think would be powerful enough to destroy said planet? Probably a Bijou bomb going all out from Naruto. Right? He's in his Kurama avatar mode. He powers up and just blows the fucking earth to dust. That would probably be one of the attacks for him. As far as Sasuke, maybe if he goes all out at full power, theoretically he could maybe maybe achieve a level of lightning-based attack that would fracture the earth. Maybe a keying of such damage, of such damaging potential that it destroys the earth or something like that. Maybe Indra's arrow is another one. That's a very powerful attack of his. Or maybe something like that. What's going on, Fixing Geoduck? Thanks for coming in. Okay, Muay Thai is probably the most deadly. It involves both elbows, legs, and knees on top of having deadly hand-to-hand techniques, in my opinion. Yes, it's called the 8-limb sport for a reason. I agree. It's definitely one of the best to learn. But again, folks, any questions you may have, feel free to ask. Any at all. It can be I enjoy the combat sports talk. I'm obviously a huge combat sports fan. Sports in general, anime, IRL shit, whatever is on your mind. Again, super chats are really appreciated, and of course, they'll be prioritized. We've had a lot of goats in the last couple streams dropping super chats. It's highly appreciated. And if it's 20 or above, I put it on the screen. I'm sure you guys have seen those couple live streams where guys have been super chatting. Has been greatly appreciated. Keeps the channel growing, and it all goes back to the channel anyway. So appreciate that. I need plans to check out some webtoons, a lot of hype stuff in there. Possibly. I need to explore more, more types of media. Who's your favorite boxer? Floyd Mayweather. He's the most technically sound, at least defensively speaking, that I've ever seen. He's the best I've seen. His technique, arguably, as of today, is second to none. His efficiency in evading and limiting the impact of punches thrown at him is second to none. Never been dropped by a punch. Never been cut by a punch. He's been cut by a headbutt. I believe it was Micros Maidana. He headbutted him in the face, but that wasn't a punch. Never been dropped. Never been cut. How rare is that? In 50 fights, never get dropped and never get cut is ridiculous. That's a ridiculous feat that's going to be damn near impossible to replicate. Right? Most guys get dropped. Most guys get cut, It's insane. Truly. Do you think Gara would have beat Datara if he didn't have to protect the village? There's an argument for it, right? Because he was handicapped, you could say. He was protecting others. He had to, kind of deviate some of his effort and ability towards that to save them. So he wasn't I would even argue his reaction times, rationally speaking, his reaction times lowered because he has to keep an eye on the village, right? So he has eyes going in different directions in a metaphorical sense. So, yeah, I would say there would be an argument that he would have won. But the microscopic clay bombs that Datara had, I think either way would have been very problematic for Gara. You could argue maybe his reaction times would have been sufficient to avoid it because he wouldn't have his eye on the village. So there's an argument to be made for it. If I do a super chat, I call it. I would, but it's not set up for it. I'm just on my own webcam. So Kisame scaling below Jiraiya in part 1 is inaccurate as he gets stronger, though, absorbing Beast Chakra, which is shown as he goes from fighting pretty evenly with Asuma to beating Killer Bee. You could argue that the statement is not a statement to revere, right? But you gotta ask yourself, why would he state that? He's aware of his own abilities. He's aware of that he's able to absorb chakra. Why would he say it, right? And then you can counter and say, well, Itachi kind of egged him on, to avoid fighting Jiraiya. That's a fair argument as well. It's a debatable one. How many full-grown men at the physical peak do you think it would take to take down a fully grown gorilla or grizzly bear? Quite a bit. At least 5 for a gorilla. 5, 6, 7. A good chance to have a high probability you would need fucking 10. Because you'd have to pin down each arm, right? Grizzly bear or gorilla. And they're so much more astronomically stronger than an average grown man that it's very, very difficult. It's going to be very difficult. And to get close to them is going to be problematic. Because I'm sure they have the capability of knocking your ass out fairly easily. Grizzly bears as well. I hear that, you know, that what they say is that one slash from a grizzly bear is enough to kill a grown man, you know. Oh, shout out to Phantom Redbeard for the 20. You know how this goes. I screenshot it. So give me a second, folks, as I do that. And then I'll answer his question. Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate the donation. 1 second as I put this goat's super chat on the screen. Alright. Give me a second, folks. Let's see. I believe here it is. Now let me look for it and put it on the screen. And I shall continue. Right. Sorry, folks. I have like the old screenshots, so I'm kind of going through them. Give me a second. I believe that's the right one. Yep. Okay. Alright, shout out to you, brother. Let's answer your question now. Spotted hyena versus jaguar. Who do you believe would win? Both have incredible bite forces, and both are near the same size, but have crazy stats and reputation. I think because hyenas are instinctually tribal, right? They work in packs, similar to lions, and jaguars are more solitary. You can make sort of a rational argument that jaguars are more designed to deal on one-on-one encounters, whereas hyenas are more so designed to deal with, you know, threats in a conjunctive manner, right? Because they have to work in conjunction, because they work in packs instinctually. So I would lean towards the jaguar, actually. And especially considering they're the same size, and if their PSI and bite force is similar, then it really comes down to their ability to fight, right? So one-on-one, most likely I would lean to the jaguar, I'd say. So that's an interesting one, though, especially considering that they're relative in size. But I think the difference is one's solitary and one isn't, right? So who's the most overrated Naruto character in terms of power? It's a good question. Let's think about that one. Overrated. Maybe Kakazu. Jokes aside, maybe Kakazu. Maybe Tsunade in the war arc. Like, oh my god, she had his mental amp. She got her ass whooped. Madara looked at her as fucking fodder, right? It's not like she was ever a threat. Yeah, she looked cool surviving her ass getting cut in half by fucking Madara. That doesn't prove shit. You know, not that she's weak, but overrated, I'd say so. I think Jiraiya and Sagemo can beat Kisame. What's your thoughts? I believe so, right? That the statement that Kisame states with him being inferior supports that, and the fact that I'm sure Kisame probably hasn't seen what Jiraiya is capable of either would further reinforce the notion that Jiraiya and Sagemo would most likely beat him. His speed would increase, etc. So I'd probably lean towards Jiraiya and Sagemo rationally. So Killer Bee is at least KCM1 level due to war arc feats, and KCM1 Naruto would slap Jiraiya. That's the problem though, right? Because he failed to beat Kisame, right? And from that, we would argue, what is Kisame superior to Itachi? Because Itachi was relative to KCM1 Naruto in terms of speed. So it becomes tricky. But yeah, I see what you're saying. Goku Black potential would have been crazy. Agreed, for sure. He's inferior to Goku, but it still would have been crazy nonetheless. MS Sasuke versus third grade Kage. MS Sasuke. I don't think his reaction times are on the level of someone like Sagemo Naruto. I don't think he ever dealt with the Red Kage blitzing him full speed, to be honest with you. Yes, he was in version 2, but obviously attacks aren't equivalent in speed. So I would kind of lean towards this. The thing is, the third Red Kage is slower than the fourth. I think that's also proven. It's contentious who would win that one. But I lean towards the Red Kage, possibly because of his durability. That's a tough one. Tough one. I would lean towards the third rate Kage just based off the top of my head right now, without doing any further investigation on that one. Does Sage Mode Jiraiya scale to large mountain plus level in your opinion? Large mountain plus level. At his best, let's look at Pain for example, right? The guy that fodderized him. He obviously scales easily to bare minimum city level, right? I mean, the Leaf Village is a city essentially, and he fucking literally leveled it. Right? Leveled it, and that was a weakened Pain. Right, that was a weakened Pain that was battling the Leaf and is also away from Nagato's body, not in the Rain Village where he's at his strongest. So I would say Pain is city level. Now Jiraiya, it's hard to kind of put a finger on how strong he is. Mountain level doesn't seem too outlandish to me, right? Possibly, that's a possible good placement for him, rationally speaking. Shisui seems pretty overrated. I agree. Especially in the anime where he got his ass whipped by Danzo without amps, without Sharingans. Not a good look, you know. And then I guess at least in the higher caliber of, you know, opponents. So Madara and Hashirama, both Edo and Alive versus Jubito. Madara and Hashirama versus Edo, both Edo and Alive versus Jubito. Well, Hashirama seems to be pretty confident he wouldn't be able to deal with Jubito on his own. Now, if we look at Madara's statement, he kind of seems to imply I need to hurry up before, you know, Jubito, because Jubito's going to be a problem even for me. Together in conjunction Alive, it's a tough one to put your finger on. You could argue yes, because think of it like this: the argument that I gave previously on another topic, right? EMS Sasuke was stated to be inferior to Madara, who's equal in strength to Hashirama. That means Naruto's inferior to those two as well, and them in Sage Mode were able to, you know, kind of press Jubito a little bit. Not that they're relative or beating him, but they were able to press him a little bit, so then you can assess, well, maybe guys that are even stronger than those two alive would press him even further and maybe even beat him, especially considering Hashirama's Sage Mode and its efficiency. So I think there's a probability they could. But I think Jubito at his best, I don't know. It'd have to be like a nerf to Jubito. That's my subjective lens talking, to be fair. That's because Kisame was the direct counter to Killer Bee in terms of moveset, and Kisame actually, the Naruto, when he just, KCM was too fast. That's a good point. Do you think the third Kage's chakra body protection would save him from Amaterasu to allow him to kill Sasuke? I think so. I actually think he's inferior to his son, though. And you know how the Red Kage struggled a little bit with Amaterasu. I mean, his arm, I think, got fucked up. The reason I think he's inferior is because the Red Kage stalemated the Eight Tails. And that wasn't an Eight Tails with a host and a Jinchuriki. It was just the Eight Tails itself. While the Red Kage is, you know, universally claimed and accepted to be, relative to Killer Bee, probably superior to Killer Bee, definitely in terms of speed. So, and Jinchurikis are stated to be stronger than the tailed beasts themselves. Hence, the third Kage is weaker than his son, right? Because he stalemated the Eight Tails, which implies relativity. So I think he probably would have trouble with Amaterasu. He probably would. And it probably would affect him, actually. I heard someone say that they believe Alive Madara and Hashirama could possibly be Jubito, but I doubt if we count unstable Jubito is clearly more powerful than his unstable. Exactly, that's my point. Yeah, I don't think they would deal with him. He's on a different tier. He has 6-pass ability at that point. That's a different league that no one touches unless they have 6-pass ability. Right? 6-pass Naruto, Jubidara, 6-pass Sasuke, Jubito, Otsuki level threats. You know, that's a different league that surpasses all I think it surpasses all non-6-pass characters besides maybe Sakura, because of her fucking feats against Kaguya. As much as I don't like that bitch, but it's the truth. And DMS Kakashi, who actually had 6-pass powers at that point. He states it when he was in DMS. Jiraiya and Kisame would lose to Pain, so you cannot even argue that Kisame's leagues above Jiraiya or anything like that. Yeah, they would both lose to Pain. Definitely. It's true. Yeah, no, comparing those two, no one's leagues above the other. Yeah, so I do agree with that. Alright, folks. Continue with the questions. Any IRL questions? Anime, sports, red pill, whatever. I think the feats against Kaguya aren't that good. Here's one you really can't refute. Sakura was able to damage Kaguya, right? In the panel in the manga, her horn comes off. She's visibly shaken, right? She is shaken by the impact of her punch. That cannot be refuted. That's an observational evidence that is irrefutable. That shows you her ability to cause damage. Furthermore, she was able to do this after being stabbed by Jubidara. Obviously, he was weaker than Kaguya. Right. That also implies her durability level. She's able to recover completely after being stabbed by Jubidara, enough to the point where she's able to still output an AP that's enough to damage Kaguya. And as far as her speed feats, the best thing we see is her dodging the hands of Kaguya, those giant hands that she was trying to kill Sakura with, which Naruto stated are very fast. I believe he stated that himself. So it's kind of hard to say that, what she did wasn't impressive in the grand scheme of things, at least. And I don't like her. I try to find arguments against it. To be fair, an argument against it would be that that she's retarded, that she's blinded by her motherly nature, and that she held back because of her motherly nature. I mean, that's a good argument to use, because I don't like Sakura. So if I was debating and being devil's advocate on this topic, then I would bring that up. Her stupidity is the reason why she lost. Big reason why Kaguya lost. So, but keep asking questions, folks. I have one IRL question that was asked. So to you for the question. It was, how bad do you think the next 5 years will be in terms of social interactions? All right, so ask questions while I answer this. So I actually thought about this quite deeply. It's a good question. So based on the trajectory of our society, I would predict that our society will become continuously more and more tribal. And I think that there's a clear trends towards that. Look at social media with political, factions, political groups, the red pill versus feminist, the war, all these wars because of tribalism, because of people wanting to belong to a group and that they revere that group and they're not willing to be open-minded and allow logic to change their perspective. So I think that's going to continue to increase, right? Because logic's a dying entity, honestly. That's why appeal to emotion is a growing entity, right? So we have logic dying, and we have the fallacious appeal to emotion thought process thriving, which is scary, right? That's not a good thing. Continuing on, because this guy gave some examples of social interactions. Dating is becoming an increasingly more competitive endeavor as well. Social media allows all participants to display their accolades and accomplishments, right? Instagram lets you flex. These hoes flex their fat asses or they're in shape. So it allows you to flex. All right, so continuing on. This will increasingly dilute dating. Because this is a good argument that I heard. It's diluting legitimate experiences as far as dating because the two people that date are in a cutthroat type of environment. Dating's cutthroat now. Why? Because people have dating apps, because people have Instagram, because people have Facebook, and because they know that there's other options out there. They don't have that desperation to put on a good show and to appear as a good person, right? And to, attain that partner. Especially women, because women have all these fucking options. They have DMs, hundreds of DMs a day. Even an average woman, even fat bitches have it, So that's diluting dating in general. It's detrimental to us all. So that's also going to continue to increase. As far as social media, as I just said, it's contributing to the increasing tribalism amongst groups, which inherently creates more hostility and animosity. There's going to be continuous increase in animosity because of tribalism, right? Because of people having these factions that they're so loyal to. The feminist movement or the fucking, body positivity movement or whatever the fuck it is. They're tribal. Humans are instinctually tribal. Now that we don't have, 2,000-year-old tribes like back in the day, like the Navajos or something, this is the new tribes that we have. These are the new tribes that we have now, right? So this is the new tribalism in modern day. It's a good way to think about it. And finally, human acceptance, as far as that, because this was another aspect you wanted me to discuss, seems to be decreasing as well, as it seemingly appears that, again, the emotional, appealing indoctrination of everyone being special has made people have a delusional sense of self-entitlement, from people using pronouns to people pretending that being overweight is something to be applauded to people changing their identity. It's distorting logical, biological fact. It's truly scary. But that's my answer to that question. It's truly bizarre. Good question. Team Taka versus KCM2, not Edo. I think they get fucked up. Team Minato would foderize them. How's Bleach going so far? I talked about it, but I talked about it again. I'm currently learning about the Rancor. I'm in the Rancor arc. I'm learning about Aizen's organization. The whole idea of the power scaling so far seems kind of cloudy. Excuse me. There's some blurry lines to me still. It seems like these people's ability fluctuates, especially Ichigo. At the beginning of fucking Bleach, he's stalemating Kenpachi, defeating Byakuya with his Bankai and his Hollow State. And then he goes to struggling with, guys that are below, apparently captains, right? Because, one of the captains, I forgot the opponent that he was fighting, right? It was one of the Aizen subordinates. One of the captains had to stop that battle. Ichigo's getting his ass whooped. He probably would have fucking died if that captain didn't come and, punish his subordinate for being disobedient. I forgot the guy's name. But one of the captains that betrayed the Soul Society with Aizen came in and said, "No, you're not supposed to be here. We're going back to Aizen's, where Aizen is." So Ichigo, I feel like, has a lot of work to do, but the power scaling seems kind of cloudy because if Kenpachi is this fucking amazing captain and he stalemated him, why is he struggling with someone below these other captains? Doesn't make much sense, but I'm still new to it. So. If you can read minds and I can see into the future and we can play a game of chess, who do you think would win? There's only one right answer. I'm about to judge you. Jokingly, of course. Let me read it again. If you can read minds and I can see into the future and we play a game of chess, who do you think would win? Well, if you can see into the future in your mind, then I would be able to read that such future as well. So you could argue that we would stalemate because we both see the future. Or you could argue that, theoretically, because I see your future, I can continuously build on that and be ahead of you, which is a very trippy thing to think about. So I would say either I would win or we would tie because I could read your mind. So that's an interesting question, though. It was a tie, yeah, basically. How strong do you think the Ten Tails is, considering that it waking up, screaming caused country level multi-continental cataclysmic events with the tornadoes, thunderstorms, and tsunamis? The Ten Tails is probably lowballing, going all out, maybe planet level at least. Yeah, probably at least planet level, and I think that's lowballing. Do you think as the new generation arises, are we becoming more accepting of one another and becoming more diverse? Yeah, accepting isn't the word I'd use. More diverse, more tribal, like I said previously. We're becoming more tribal because, again, humans are instinctually tribal. That's why since the beginning of time there's been tribes. Now they're different. They're not, these tribes that we perceive, right, like the Navajos or the Native Americans or the nomads in Middle Eastern Europe or, in the Middle East during the rise of the Islamic religion or, the fucking Catholics during the Crusades. It's not that kind of tribe. Now it's more virtual. It's a virtual world of tribalism. You have these groups online that work in conjunction to destroy the other groups that they see as enemies, when in reality we're in a first world country where there is no real threat. But that's our minds need that tribalism. It's a dangerous precedent. So I would say they're not becoming more accepting. Yeah, Ichigo's like a roller coaster in power level. I noticed that as well because his confidence mood. Yeah, I think that's a big, even more so than Dragon Ball and arguably Naruto, as far as what contributes to your power is your mental fortitude, right? If Ichigo's mentally weak, he seems apparently much weaker. When he's, when he has a strong conviction and he gets his resolve, he seems to be much more powerful, which is when we saw him beat Kenpachi, give Byakuya a hard time because of the mental fortitude. So I agree. Thanks for the $1, Nuke. Appreciate that. Highly appreciate it. Thank you, brother. What's your favorite Dragon Ball transformation? I said this before and I'll say it every time. Goku during the Namek arc when he went Super Saiyan is forever goated, forever. That was a legendary moment in anime history, arguably the greatest moment of anime history. Not just Dragon Ball, but any anime ever. So, if you think Naruto could fuse, which two do you think would make a good fusion? I guess the most obvious choice would be Naruto and Sasuke. Fusing those kinds of abilities together and those arsenals would make a good blend. And their two, ideologies as far as battle strategy would also be interesting to see how that would mix. Kind of like Goku and Vegeta, right? They have these different styles. The chivalry versus the pride, the static martial artsy style from Vegeta and the more so dynamic and open-minded style of Goku. It's the same thing with Naruto and Sasuke in different aspects, right? Sasuke's the logical, calm, and collected guy, and I would describe Naruto as a more chaotic and maverick type of opponent, combatant. Mix those together, you get a god. Another interesting one would maybe be like Rock Lee, combine his taijutsu, or Might Guy and Kakashi, something like that. Mix taijutsu god with a ninjutsu god, knows 1,000 jutsus. That would be a hell of a product. So, which of the Akatsuki duos would win in a fight if they were to go on a free-for-all? Obito is with Zetsu. Probably Itachi. Let me think about this actually. So we got Pain and Conan. Itachi and Kisame is obviously a threat. Sasori and Deidara. Kakazu and Hidan. And of course, Obito and Zetsu. The top dogs would have the best odds. Obviously, the groups with Itachi, Pain, and Obito. Obito with the orange mask, I think he might have issues with Itachi and Kisame. I do think he's faster than both, in my opinion. Obito might win because of the speed and the Kamui dimension, but Pain's hacks would be problematic as well, right? Conan's kind of a non-factor compared to the big dogs, but I might lean towards Obito, even if he just has Zetsu anyway, because then theoretically Zetsu could amp him even further. So I might lean towards Obito, possibly. So probably that group. Ten Tails is above planetary because the Nine Tails has stayed multiple times to be planetary. Fair enough. If we were free for all to happen for two teams, it's either Pain or Conan. Taji. Those are good picks. I would pick those right after Obito's group. Which will happen first? Will we actually find out what's at the bottom of the ocean, or will every part of the world have access to the internet? That's a good question, because then you got to ask, how far are we on those respective projects? How far are we along? Rationally, I would say the internet thing would be easier because we have the capability of theoretically spreading wireless networks globally, right? It's just the sake of, having the ambition to do so, having the money to do so. Now, the ocean, from my understanding, there just isn't adequate technology that can sustain the pressure of the bottoms of the ocean. Maybe I'm wrong, but from my understanding, it seems that's not technologically available. That technology is not available yet. So I would probably say the internet being global is probably more realistic and probable, in my opinion, based off what I know. I'm not a scientist, but rationally, that's what I would say. The duos don't matter too much. It comes down to who you think is strongest between Pain and Obito. Exactly, it does. Kabuto Sage Mode versus Kakashi and my guy. Who do you think he can beat? Do you think he can beat both of them during the war arc? So Kabuto and Sage Mode versus Kakashi and my guy. The ones that I'm assuming fought alongside KCM2 Naruto when they were fighting White Mask Obito. Well, it's a good question. I would argue KCM2 Naruto is superior to both of them. And then I would argue Sage Mode Kabuto arguably was relative to Itachi. I kind of lean towards Kabuto because of his abilities to fight blindly, right? That would negate possible genjutsu. I think his speed might be above that of that Might Guy and Kakashi, respectively. I lean towards him, rationally. I think there's more for him. In terms of iconic rivalries, would it say it's God and Jesus versus Satan, Goku versus Vegeta, and Naruto versus Sasuke? Now, of course, right, God versus Satan has been around since the beginning of humans' ability to write and read and think rationally, right? That's ever since religion was born, ever since the conception of religion, the idea of religion, the idea of a god. So clearly, it has the legacy time duration advantage over everything, right? Over every anime rivalry. But Goku and Vegeta, right? Dragon Ball is a global phenomenon now. Goku and Vegeta are very wide known, and I would argue a lot of casuals know who they are. Naruto and Sasuke as well, both global phenomenons when it comes to anime. But religions have billions of followers. Christianity, billions. Islam, billions. You know, Judaism, probably billions as well. So I'd probably say God versus Satan is still more iconic empirically. So yeah, it's more likely that we'll have internet. The ocean is likely it's like space. Agreed. It's extremely unknown. What was it? Orimasu Obito that Kamui into Onoku's particle style before it killed him? Yes, it was. That's correct. If we were talking original Waizetsu, then those two win. Yeah, I agree. Kabuto has the hacks to pull it off, and the guy's speed isn't that big of a deal because of the stage mode reaction time he has. Right, because he has the reaction times to react. Yeah. Nike dunk lows or Air Force Ones lows. I feel like Air Force Ones, in my opinion, are a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, and I think they're more popular, empirically speaking, at least from my knowledge. It's probably the Air Force Ones. So yeah. EMS Sasuke versus Edo Minato. Edo Minato with KCM, most likely. Edo Minato without it is relative to... Right, we have to keep in mind EMS Sasuke is relative to Naruto. So I would lean towards Sasuke. But then again, KCM Minato, you have to prove that KCM Minato in Edo is above Naruto, which is going to be tough to do as well. So I might lean towards Sasuke, actually. Do you think humans require religion to survive, or is it more so to help inspire? The way I look at religion is that the reason that it exists is because humans are inherently curious. It's the reason why the scientific method exists, why hypotheses and theories are so intriguing to the masses, not just scientists in these fields of discipline. These religious scriptures and the religious literature is basically a manual, right, on how to live your life, one, and two, an explanation to the unknown, right? So obviously, logically, we're going to say, well, there's nothing empirically that proves it, but obviously people have this, the word that they use is faith, and faith is this intangible feeling that you have, right? This intangible trust that you have in things that you could say aren't statistically or empirically proven, right? So that's the argument for the atheist side. Well, this isn't empirically and objectively proven, but then I've seen some scientists that aren't atheists give a good rational argument that's hard to counter, right? Like the idea of law and order in our universe, right? The idea is there's a commonality in all of the universe, which is there's law and order all around us. Think about it. Humans are built they have a commonality in the fact that they all have fingers. Most of them, I'm not saying all. Some have abnormalities. That's a commonality. Now consider that somewhat law and order. Science and math are based on laws and these concepts that are considered holy by mathematicians, by scientists. Then we have the animal kingdom. There's some law and order there. There's a hierarchical structure there. Even our own society, we have social classes. There's a hierarchical structure of order there. The economy, social classes. You know, first world countries having the power over the weaker third world countries. There's some law and order there. There's always order. So the argument is there has to be an enforcer of such said law and order. So that's a rational argument that I've heard. It's a pretty good one. So I think, to answer your question, though, I think it's a little bit of both. And what I say, do humans require it? No, but they greatly desire it. I don't think they require religion, but they greatly desire it to have answers to their questions. So that's my thoughts. Continuing on, Sage Mode Kabuto would wreck Kakashi and Guy. Yep. What does Boruto have to do to stop being mid? Okay. To stop being mid, we need the villains to become more polarized. In these Star Wars, me personally, I don't give a fuck about Code. I don't give a fuck about Damon. I don't give a fuck about Ida. Not like I did for Madara. Not like I did for Pain. These guys intrigued me. They enticed me. They appealed to the fandom, the masses of the Naruto fandom. These fucking cyborgs, I don't care about them. Yeah, they're powerful. Yeah, they're more powerful than fucking Jigen. I don't give a fuck about them. You know, so they have to make them more emotionally appealing. That's what they have to do. I don't want to just see how powerful they are. I don't give a fuck. You know, I'm not appeal to them, and that makes me not interested. Yeah, I still read it because I'm a anime junkie, but I don't give a fuck about those people. You know, they have to make them more enticing. Even someone like Boruto, the only guy I think they're doing a pretty good job with is Kawaki, because he has an ideology that you can kind of extrapolate. Or Amato, he's pretty good. I like his deceptive nature. But the rest, it's like I don't give a fuck about these people, you know. So, for example, people thought lightning and thunder came from a god before it was scientifically proven. Yeah, humans are instinctually curious. They see this godlike power. That's what they call it. So they correlate that to a god that created this godlike power, right? So I guess it makes sense because it appeals to their inherent desire to answer their curiosity, right? So, yeah, that is true. Why do people try to power scale Naruto and Boruto together when the power differences are really massive? It's like trying to power scale Dragon Ball with Dragon Ball Super. Good point. I agree. I would say the Boruto power scaling is more wacky, and I would argue that there's been jumps in caliber of power scaling. I agree. I don't understand it either, you know. But instinctually, especially OG fans, are gonna want to compare, the future to the past. But I see your point. Religion is to indirectly inspire and control people. We don't really need it to live, but it helps certain people feel at ease. I agree. It kind of eases the curiosity, and what it really eases and what it helps avoid is nihilism, right? Because people that are atheists, some of them are nihilists, like nothing matters. We're coincidences of just random occurrences in this unknown universe. That's the way I look at it. Like we're just some random insignificant occurrence that happened, right? I'm just a random insignificant occurrence. My existence doesn't matter because I only live 100 years in the grand scheme of things. That's astronomically minimal to the duration of how long the Earth has been around, how long the universe is around. My physical size is minimal compared to the universe. So that's the way these nihilists look at shit. But religion gives like this sense of purpose, sense of identity, right? So you're right. Some questions that I messed up here. Composite Naruto character, all powers from every character versus Frieza, Namek Saga. Composite Naruto character. All characters, all powers from every character versus Frieza. So if we're talking about Baryon Mode Naruto, if that's part of this design that we're speaking of, then Frieza would have a tough time. But then you gotta argue his power level is quite insane. Think about it. Super Saiyan, Saiyan Saga, Vegeta had a power level of 18,000. If I'm not mistaken, Final Form Frieza was in the millions, at least, maybe tens. I'm not exactly sure the numerical value, but it was astronomically larger. So you can make an argument that Frieza was quite possibly in the range of Beyond Galaxy, right? Beyond Galaxy, maybe close to Universal, which is more contentious, I'd argue. But he is multi-galaxy level, probably. So I don't think Naruto, with all powers combined, would deal with him, even with Baryon Mode. Rationally, I would say they would be able to beat Frieza, especially Final Form. What if the Uchiha clan had the Rinnegan? If they had the Rinnegan, they would have won the war against the Senju. Madara probably would have beaten, theoretically, Hashirama. It would have greatly changed history. Greatly. So, yeah, that's probably what would happen, in my opinion, at least. What if Naruto masters Ki? Well, obviously, you can argue that the properties are different because we're talking about two different, we're talking about Naruto from one plane of existence, and we're talking about Ki from a different plane, Dragon Ball. If theoretically he has chakra and Ki, maybe he has some sort of combo between Super Saiyan and Sage Mode or some shit. That's all theoretical, and it's just all speculation, but it would clearly make him a more powerful foe. And if we presuppose that Ki gives you the same levels of power as it does Dragon Ball characters, then Naruto would be Dragon Ball, fucking with Dragon Ball characters. Right? That's if we presuppose that. Right? If we come into that presupposing that. All right, folks. By the way, thanks for the donation again, Phantom. It's greatly appreciated. And all super chats again are put on screen, and I answer them right away, more in depth, if any of you want to. It's greatly appreciated. Continuing on, I personally think if we use technology to integrate us to adapt better with the ocean, we can solve overpopulation on land, but only to the extent of it not disrupting animals like whales by our signals. Good point. Yeah, because that is a worry that we have to have if we start having the technological capability of, having residential, industrial, and commercial development underwater, is the disruption of ecosystems, right? For whales, sharks, fish, plankton, microscopic entities that live within the depths of the ocean. That would be problematic, and we'd also have to work around that. That'd be that'd be another problem to face. Maybe it would be similar to like trees. Maybe they would be okay with this destroying these ecosystems. Just like how they do trees when they're making houses or creating more paper out of trees. It all depends on what these scientists decide is the best course of action. So, I agree. Well, first form freezes large planet to small planet based on his casual feat of blowing up planet Vegeta. Agreed. With insane overkill, so Freezer probably takes it APM speed-wise unless we use Boruto. I agree. All he has to do with writing. Both Madara, Pain, and Obito were hyped up for a long time and were actually intimidating and really had interesting ideals and mindsets and really intriguing. And that's the difference, right? They had all these positive aspects about them. And these new guys in Boruto, I don't know this guy. I don't know fucking Ko's ideology. I just know he wanted his limiters removed. There's nothing enticing to me about that. That's very surface level shit. That's not a polarizing character. Damon's just a dumbass kid that flexes that, like, oh, I'm stronger than everybody. I'm like, good for you. I don't give a fuck about you. Ida just wants dick. It's like another Sakura, so it is what it is. You think the Tsukis were a mistake? I think the way they approached it was a mistake, especially with Kaguya's introduction at the end of the war. They should have finished it off with Madara. And then they should have introduced Kaguya and Boruto. And, build the lore around her even more. Yeah, they did a little bit, talked about Kaguya a little. But they should have built her lore up more. The Tsuki's lore should have been more built. Similar to Madara's lore, Pain's lore, Obito's lore. Build them up more. So that when we do get the end product, we're appealed. And we're in suspense. And in my opinion, they kind of failed to do that. So, you think Six Pass Naruto and Sasuke versus Nappa? So Nappa scales below Goku and Vegeta. So you can make an argument maybe he's like anywhere from multi-continental to maybe small planet as far as his power level. So Six Pass Naruto and Sasuke, I would argue, based on what they're capable of, they might be planet level, around planet level, I'd say. Maybe even up to large planet level. So I would argue they might beat Nappa, especially if they're working together. The only thing I think Nappa has over Six Pass Naruto and Sasuke is probably speed and raw strength. It's a good argument, yeah. Definitely a possibility. If you became the ruler of the entire world, what would you do with that power? So if I became a ruler of some world order, I would try to ensure checks and balances, right? That's the way the U.S. governmental system works. Checks and balances. No one has more power than the other. In fact, to be quite honest, I'd probably put myself in check and put my position in check, right? Because this was the idea of the founding fathers in the U.S. They were actually originally proposed to do another monarchy like the U.K., but they said no. Why? Because one man can't have that much power. There has to be a system of checks and balances to avoid tyranny. Tyranny is almost inevitable based off human history when you have a monarchy, when you have a king that rules over all and has absolute power, right? So the way I look at it is I would have to create a system of checks and balances here. And the way I would do it is I'd probably have other guys or maybe groups of people that can put me in check and I can put them in check. And as far as society, I think a meritocracy is quite fair. Yes, there's holes in that. There's always going to be, people getting the bad end of the stick. But meritocracy, what it does ensure to some extent is equal opportunity. It guarantees it. It doesn't make it absolute because there's no such thing as equality in an imperfect world. But I would try to guarantee at least equal opportunity. The right, you have the right to try and rise your way through society, social classes. And as far as law and order, I think very fair laws would be put in place. Don't kill, don't steal, stuff like that. So a very fair place to live in, at least from my subjective lens. That's what the kind of world I'll try to make. You know. The only thing I think, okay, I read that. Nappa is really stupid, like Mark said. If Vegeta didn't tell him to move, he would die. Yeah. So Sasuke and Naruto would use his stupidity to their advantage. Yeah. Dragon Ball Evolution, Goku versus Kid Goku. That movie's so ass that I gotta go with Kid Goku, man. Dragon Ball Evolution was fucking awful. It was so fucking bad. I was disgusted by how bad that movie was. Disgusted. So probably to Kid Goku. And he transcends reality, as evident by that one panel. He transcends reality. But all jokes aside, yeah, probably Kid Goku. The movie was so fucking ass. It's awful. Awful movie. Feel free to keep asking more questions, folks. Give me a second. This shit's tangled. There we go. Couldn't take an American be called Goku seriously. Exactly. Like, who the fuck names their kid Goku? Not that that's a bad name, but that's a very uncommon name in the States. Unless you have an anime fan father or some shit, then sure. But all right, let's see if anyone's asked any other questions. All right, folks, feel free to keep asking questions. Again, I appreciate all the donations, and not just this live stream, but all live streams lately. Been a lot of goats. Greatly appreciated. If you're not aware, I have a members only thing as well. I'm creating a private Discord that only those guys can be a part of. So yeah, there's some perks that come with it if you want to be a member as well. But feel free to keep asking questions, folks. Any and all questions are welcomed. People really paid money to go see that. I watched the bootleg version. I watched, like, I had a DVD of some guy recording the movie in the movie theater. To me, it was that worthless of a movie. I was like, I don't give a fuck. Let's just see what this, give it a chance, see what it entails of, and it was ass, like I predicted. So it was horseshit. So all right, folks. Any and all questions are welcomed. Nine Tails and 10 Tails versus King Kong and Godzilla. If we're taking a mainstream King Kong and Godzilla, I don't think they scale, at least to my knowledge and the feats that I've seen. I haven't seen Godzilla and King Kong imply that they have levels of, large planet level AP. So probably the 9 Tails and 8 Tails. From what I do know. I'm not an expert on Godzilla and King Kong, but at least in the mainstream movies, they don't seem to be even close to that level. Ali with his swiftness and Tyson with his power. If they were both in their prime, who do you think would win? I've discussed this before with friends of mine. Ali, right, his detriment was his pride to some extent, right? I mean, obviously he had great success, but he was dropped many times because of his inefficiencies when it comes to defense, and that became more and more apparent as he got older. But yeah, if we're talking about prime, Tyson being an inside fighter, right, where he explodes from the hips, he fights like he's in a phone booth against Ali in his prime. It's an interesting conversation to be had. Ali had a bad habit of, it was either dropping his right or left hand, and Tyson would exploit that if they're fighting in a phone booth, which Tyson would make sure to do. I lean towards Tyson, but it's a very competitive fight. Ali is in his prime is a freak of nature as well. His speed, his jab is underrated. If he's able to keep Tyson at bay, then he'd probably win by outboxing Tyson. Blow for blow, he loses. But I lean towards Tyson. So Depends on which version of Godzilla. Exactly. Depends. Who's your favorite Naruto character? Mine's probably Obito. Favorite? Probably Itachi, maybe Minato. You know, guys that do what they're supposed to do, right? Despite the sacrifice. Those type of dudes. I think probably Itachi. I think he's my favorite. Aesthetically, personality-wise, his ideology, probably Itachi. Thoughts on the GTA 6 leaks? I heard that the guy that leaked it, 17-year-old, got arrested. And I'm sure Rockstar's going to make sure he's punished for it. As far as the actual leaks, I haven't seen anything. Hopefully it's still around. I do want to look into that. But I am aware of, like, there was leaks and that Rockstar was not happy about it. But that's what happens when you take fucking 20,000 years to make a video game. You know? GTA 5 came out almost 10 years ago. Almost 10 years ago it came out. I was a fucking kid when it came out. So, hurry up. Because people are getting desperate. Basically. So. Oh shit. $100 by the GOAT. Thanks you, brother. Appreciate that, man. The second 100. We gotta give an applause to Batman because this is the second $100 donation he's dropped. He's a fucking GOAT. Appreciate that, brother. Let me put this on the screen. It's greatly appreciated. And I'll definitely answer that question as soon as I put this on here. Shout out to the GOAT, man. Give me a second here, folks, as I put this on. Where is it? Where is it? Give me a second. I think this one. I have all the other ones saved, so I gotta find the right one. Give me a second, folks. Alright, I think this is the right one. Appreciate it once again, brother. Let me enlarge that because that shit's goated. Because it's that goated. To answer your question, what's good? What's going on? Orange Mask Obito versus Sage Mode Kabuto with Edo Tensei. And Chunin Exam Neji versus Chunin Exam Sasuke. So let's answer the first one. Orange Mask Obito versus Sage Mode Kabuto with Edo Tensei. Well, based off the Edos he did have, and based off the reaction Obito had when he saw Madara Uchiha, he would probably get clapped. Orange Mask Obito especially. He'd get clapped. One-on-one, I'll answer that anyway because the goated donation. One-on-one, it's interesting. We have to compare Orange Mask's feats versus Sage Mode Kabuto's feats. Sage Mode Kabuto was able to compete with two arguably KCM level threats, right? If we presuppose that Itachi was KCM level based off his interactions with KCM1 Naruto, and Sasuke was around the same level as Itachi at the beginning of the war arc. So you have two guys of that caliber struggling against against Sage Mode Kabuto. To be fair, both sides were holding back. Why? Itachi couldn't kill Kabuto to undo the reanimation. Kabuto can't kill Itachi, and he didn't want to kill Sasuke because I think he had further use for him. So both were holding back to some extent, so that makes the quantification of their ability a little harder. But I think Kabuto might take it, especially if he's able to deal with two guys of that caliber. Now, the most contentious thing is his speed, right? Because Orange Mask Obito was able to contend with Minato's speed. Well, more specifically, teenage Obito. As an adult, he seems very quick as well. I mean, I would argue he's probably faster than when he was as a teenager. But then KCM1 Naruto stated to be superior to Minato by the rate Kage. I'd still lean towards Kabuto because of the hacks. I still lean towards him by himself because of the ability to manipulate the environment. That's another very crucial ability of his. I lean towards Kabuto, but I think it's extremely contentious because of Obito's speed. So that's what I would say about that. So my final conclusion would probably be Sage Mode Kabuto. Yeah. Alright, so to answer your next question, this one's a pretty highly discussed one too. Chunin Exam Neji versus Chunin Exam Sasuke. It's a great question. Well, Chunin Exam Sasuke was stated to be relative to speed of weightless Rock Lee, right? So he has relative speed to weightless Rock Lee. Now, weightless Rock Lee, we can obviously deduce, got his ass whooped by Neji on various occasions, and commonly. Neji was superior to him in base. That's why he had to learn how to use the gates, because he was inferior to Neji. And Sasuke is relative in speed to that. However, the contentious part is his AP. His Chidori is able to penetrate Gaara's sand defense, and that would be problematic for Neji. So the question is, would Neji be able to defend against that? Would his palm rotation theoretically protect him from a Chidori? That's contentious. He'd probably have the speed advantage. However, I would lean, based off the information, without curse mark. All right, let's remove that. I'd probably lean towards Neji, without the curse mark, despite the Chidori, because if they start in close quarters, Neji has the speed advantage clearly, empirically, it's proven. He whips Rock Lee's ass on a normal occasion. Rock Lee had to learn how to use the 3rd, 4th, 5th gate to even fucking have a chance. Sasuke is stated to be relative in speed to weightless Rock Lee, which my guy has seen consistently. So I think he would shut down his chakra network. But if he has curse mark, everything goes up. His speed, his AP, and that's a different story. That might turn the tides. So, but I'd probably go with Neji. Yeah. But once again, thanks for the $100, Batman. Fucking goated. Everyone that donates is goated. Whether it's $1, $100, you're all fucking goated. So, GTA 6 is gonna be really good. There's over 90 minutes of GTA. I need to watch that shit. 90 minutes of GTA 6 leak vids. I wasn't aware of that. It's crazy because of the previous GTA. Before 5 was 4, obviously, and I was 3 when GTA 4 came out. And I'm 18 now. Exactly. That's a perfect timeline. GTA 5 is probably the weakest GTA to me. The story, open world, and characters were kind of bland. I can kind of see your point. A little bland. The characters of GTA 5 were very forgettable, except the main cast. You make a good point. Tsunade would benefit the most from stage mode training. Good point. Imagine her having stage mode reaction times on top of her strength. She's one-shotting a lot of people. Agreed. Jay Spittin. Yeah. The Chunin exams, these Chunin exams matchups are very, very contentious, right? Like Rock Lee versus Sasuke. The speed is the main part, right? The speed that's what it really comes down to. Another thing you got to take into account is reaction times, because Gaara, this is another example. Gaara was able to react enough to ward off Rock Lee's attacks until around the 5th gates. 4th or 5th gates is when he started to have trouble reacting. So someone like Neji would probably have trouble hitting someone like Gaara, or someone like Sasuke, who's rolling relative to weightless Rock Lee, have trouble out-reacting him. But he has the AP to negate that, because he can break through the defenses. All this stuff is very important, and you got to extrapolate all these facts and then come to the most rational conclusion. It's a very interesting discussion, and that's why it's so debated. It's so debated, but you have to look at every angle of every detail, and that's how you come to the best conclusion here. So this is probably a contentious take, but I'd say Neji is probably the more powerful than Gaara and OG Naruto. Yeah, kind of deducing on how that would go. The toughest part would be for him to hit Gaara. I wouldn't say he's as fast as 5th gates Rock Lee, because 5th gates Rock Lee even shocked him, right? And Rock Lee said, I have these gates to beat you. And Neji's like, oh shit. So there's that. But there's so many things you have to take into account, like Neji's hand speed, his ability to shut down chakra networks. It's all very contentious. I know I'm mentioning Boruto, but Uncle Neji was able to rotation and beat their Sengon. That's an impressive feat. I think that Chidori is greater than QB chakra in Naruto punching, then Chidori is greater than rotation, so Sasuke wins, especially because it's amped his speed anyway. Okay, so I kind of see your point. The Chidori does amp your speed. That is correct. It's a lightning-based attack. But the question is it enough to amp you to the level of someone like 4th gate Rock Lee or 5th gate Rock Lee, where you can't even react to it? That's a hard question to ask, because Rock Lee attacked from different angles, right? Sasuke's attack was linear. That's the tough part, to compare the speed between the two. I can see your point, though. I see the rationale behind that. But from what I do know empirically, I might still lean towards Neji. I slightly lean towards Neji, especially considering he whooped Rock Lee's ass with no weights. So isn't it kind of implied that base Neji is more powerful than base Lee? Oh yeah, it's explicitly implied that he's more powerful. He whips his ass. That's why Rock Lee wanted to learn fifth gates, the fourth, fifth gates, because you can't fuck with him, you know. Neji versus Gaara is a weird one. I agree. That would be interesting. It's stated for Neji having a greater defense than Gaara, and Gaara stated to go wide eyes once it's stated. True. That is a very, very contentious. That's a very contentious battle. I think the long range advantage that Gaara would have would be kind of difficult for Neji. Neji might be faster than Gaara, arguably, but to a certain extent. But him getting in and having the AP to hurt Gaara is the question, right? Would him, 64 palming his sand shield fucking break through it? I don't know. That's a good question, Neji beating Gaara depends on if you think Hidemaru's spider armor is greater than the sand armor. It's a good point. If you think it isn't, then Neji wins because the gentle fist would bypass the sand and take him out. Yeah, then you got to compare those two things. What's greater in durability, right? That, and I'm pretty sure Neji has a speed advantage. That I think we could safely deduce that. I think he does have the speed advantage. Gaara really isn't heralded for his speed. It's his durability. Well, specifically his sand's durability that makes him an issue. And to kind of debunk this bullshit that his sand is faster than the Raikage, it's not. And why? Right? Because people always say, well, he saved the Raikage from dying when he was trying to kill Sasuke. They would have stalemated. Well, the Raikage was falling down. He wasn't going in a linear towards Sasuke. He was falling down. Hence, that wasn't his full speed. His full speed we saw when he blitzed Minato with an actual linear attack where his feet were on the ground and he could gather momentum and increase his velocity. Falling down, you're not gaining. The only thing increasing your velocity is gravity. So you can't rationally deduce that that's his full speed. You'd have to prove that him falling is as fast as him going in a linear fashion towards Minato. It's not provable. Hence, Gaara Sand isn't fucking the Raikage speed. That's not fucking true. Right? So, think about it like that. So again, Gaara's speed isn't top tier. Exactly. There's nothing that implies the Raikage is moving downward as fast as he can run. Exactly. And rationally, you can deduce what's faster in the real world, right? So we can kind of make an analogy. I made one. If what's faster, Usain Bolt running an Olympic 100-meter or him jumping off a bench, which at max velocity is faster? Probably Usain Bolt running, not jumping off a high bench. He's not going to gain more speed than if he's running 100-meter. So think of it like that. I think Neji's gentle fist would go through Gaara's sand armor, just not his sand that tries to protect him. I see what you're saying. That's a fair argument. Yeah. What are your top 3 favorite places to go eat? Well, I have to answer that based off what I do like to eat, because the third Raikage was us beating Gaara's sand. Exactly. Exactly. And he's slower than the fourth, right? He fucking stalemated the eight tails. The Raikage is superior to a perfect Jinchuriki 8-tail. Exactly. What are your top 3 favorite places to go eat? So like I was saying, I'm very strict on my diet, just discipline thing. I only eat like lean meats, grains, high protein foods that are low as far as saturated fats are concerned. But what I do like eating, so top 3 places. Let's think. That's actually a good question. A good one, maybe Five Guys. I don't know if it's a nationwide restaurant, but if you're on the West Coast, yes. Five Guys has the best, like, most natural seeming burgers. Like, it's real beef. Everything is really good. Even their fucking shakes, everything. Five Guys. There used to be this place. It doesn't exist anymore. It was a buffet. It was called Hometown Buffet. It was a fucking W. There's a wide variation of foods, and you could eat as much as you want. It's a fucking buffet. And then a third place. What else did I like eating a lot when I used to eat like shit? I mean, I eat this to this day. Maybe Subway. Subway has a wide variation, a lot of nutrition, and I actually genuinely like the taste. So maybe those 3 places, excuse me. Five Guys expensive as fuck. Yeah, it's expensive here too. Trust me. We have Five Guys over here in the Midwest. Shout out to Five Guys, man. If they lowered the prices, they'd be fucking W. They'd be fucking goated. But they're expensive. Yeah. Rikage should slap Gaara at Warlock at least before his sun got lighter, but Rikage could have easily gotten around the sand before that. Exactly. There's this one guy that I debated long ago that said Sasori beats Obito, right? Because Sasori beat the third Kage. Sasori beat the third Kazekage, right? Who's stated to be the strongest Kazekage. Hence, his sand is faster than Gaara's, whose sand is faster than the Raikage. I was like, that's bullshit. It's bullshit. No. Gaara's sand is not faster than the fourth Raikage, bro. Shut the fuck up. So, do you think Talk no Jutsu would work on Goku? Do I think Talk no Jutsu would work on Goku? That's a good question. I think because he's very chivalrous, I think there would be a good chance that he would concede and avoid battle. Especially if Naruto gets in his head. He's like, hey man, you and me are two of the same, or some bullshit. That's shit, the jargon that he speaks. He's very chivalrous. But if Naruto's a bad guy, alright, in this scenario, if he's a bad guy and trying to talk no jutsu Goku, I don't think so. Because Goku's a very pure-hearted individual. So it depends on the context. MS Sasuke versus Sage Mode Naruto. If we're talking about Pain Arc, because that's important, it's actually MS Sasuke, because Naruto stated, and this was Sasuke when he was going blind right when Naruto saved Sakura. What happened was Naruto saved Sakura from getting killed by Sasuke because she's a dumb bitch to try to kill Sasuke, and almost got herself killed in the process, and Kakashi in the process, and Naruto in the process. She's fucking stupid. But Naruto stated explicitly, I can't beat you without the QB. I can't fuck with you. And that was blind Sasuke. So imagine MS Sasuke, like fought 5 Kage Summit Sasuke. He'd probably beat Sage Mode Naruto. Based off that statement, you can extrapolate and deduce that. So probably MS Sasuke. Yeah. If it's War Arc, that changes things. Obviously, Sage Mode, War Arc, Naruto's at a different level. What's going on, Outlaw Truth? Thanks for coming in, bro. Is Sasori actually stronger than Deidara? Because I do think so, but now there's a strong armor for Deidara, and now I'm looking at it differently. Well, where this kind of ends, you could argue, is when Deidara states himself that Sasori is superior. He's like, yeah, he kind of is superior. I'll give it to him. Like he reluctantly acknowledges that fact. So I guess kind of gotta go with it. And I don't see why he would lie, especially the type of ego that guy has. He thinks that his shit's perfect art, right? So it's very hard for him to acknowledge that he's inferiority to anybody, which is why he hates Itachi so much, and he hates the Uchihas, because Itachi fucking bitched him, made him his bitch, when he almost nearly made him blow himself up with his perfect art, which isn't so perfect compared to Itachi's Genjutsu, right? Itachi said, you're my bitch. Look harder. You're about to kill yourself. You're my bitch. And Deidara, a real animosity grew because of that, in Deidara's heart, because he's so prideful. So, by the way, folks, hit the like button if you haven't. If you just came in, gets us up in the algorithm. It also keeps the army growing, keeps more eyeballs on the pod, makes it more interactive. Once again, thanks for the donations, folks. You guys are fucking dubs. You guys are W's. Doesn't make sense either, because Kid Obito was on par with Minato, and we know Minato is faster than Raikage. So Sasori, 4th Raikage, Gaara, and 3rd Kazekage doesn't stand a chance against Oranman Obito. Exactly. That's more shit to disprove all the horse shit that people speak of when it comes to sand speed. It's fucking stupid. Pain versus MS Sasuke. That's a good question. I do think Pain at his full power, right? Let's say he's in the Rain Village, hypothetically. I think he's still above the likes of Naruto and Sasuke. His hacks would be problematic. It would be a hard counter to Sasuke, right? The Amaterasu would be difficult because he could just almighty push that shit away. The Chibaku Tensei, I don't know how Sasuke's getting out of that. theoretically shouldn't have a way of destroying this, the nucleus of the Edo Tensei, of the Chibaku Tensei. So I don't see how he beats it. Oh my god, so much top content creators in one stream. Shout out to you. Yeah, we got we got fucking goats in here, man. We got some goats in here. Does Six have his own orbit? Hey, shout out to Six, man. Hopefully we debate again sometime. I've been busy, but I do intend on asking him again. Speaking on that, the debate community is interesting. I think the problem with the debate community is the egos involved. You got to be willing to be open-minded and take L's when they're necessary. I took an L versus Six. He was the better man that day. There's no excuses made. I wasn't prepared, but that's not an excuse. Why? Because that was my fault. I should have been prepared, and that debate probably would have went differently. But you got to be able to take L's in the community, and also debate things that are worth debating. Don't have a fucking 6-hour debate against some fucking dumbass, fucking fodder ass dude that thinks Kakuzu beats Pain. That's fucking stupid. You're wasting your fucking time. Instead, you can be making a bag, debating someone of note. Make a bag off of it, not be debate these fucking losers that think this bullshit. And it's not, honestly, they don't even believe it. It's ego. Kakuzu beats Pain because of raw ability. The only reason they say that is because of their egos. Kakuzu's multi-continental. Shut the fuck up, So be smart, and even if they call you a pussy for not debating them, you're the bigger man. Why? Because you're not entertaining that bullshit. It's fucking stupid. So fuck that shit. But yeah, Six is he is a worthy opponent. So I must approach cautiously next time, not just debate him on a whim, because you pay the price when you debate a good debater like that. So let my mistake be a lesson if you ever debate someone good. Cough noodles. Yeah. I'll say this. I don't give a fuck about noodles, but I saw that he made some sort of song off of me saying fuck Surfbone. I'm like, wow. Obviously, I'm on your mind, kiddo. I'm on your mind, ain't I? It's funny. But I saw that song. I was like, what the fuck is this, bro? Maybe he's a fan. I don't know. Not that I would give a fuck either way, but, irrelevant to me. It's not so much the ego as much as there are doxers, let's be honest. Yes. Fuck those people. Pussies. Heavy Sasuke versus Kakuzu and Hidan. Heavy Sasuke. Alright. It's a good question. I was thinking about this one. So, Heavy Sasuke had success against Deidara, and you could almost damn near say that they're equivalent, because they basically they almost both died in that exchange. The only reason they did is because Sasuke was smart enough to reverse summon and escape. Kakuzu and Hidan. Kakuzu scales to... Hidan and Kakuzu can be compared to MS Kakashi. Or not even MS, because he didn't use MS. He was using his base Sharingan. And they were both relative to Kakashi. I'd argue Hidan was inferior. Kakuzu was superior. And Rasen's Shuriken Naruto took out Kakuzu. Despite what all the Kakuzu tards think, oh my god, he was cut off guard because he was fatigued. No. He looked at the Rasen Shuriken. Didn't fucking react in time. Why? He doesn't have the speed to do so. So, Rasen Shuriken Naruto, we can all acknowledge, is inferior to Heavy Sasuke. If Sage Mode Naruto is inferior to MS Sasuke, then it's highly likely that Rasen Shuriken Naruto is inferior to Heavy Sasuke, who fucking almost killed Deidara. So, probably Sasuke. Right, probably. Multiversal Naruto, exactly. Batman, have faced a lot of egos in your time. I know that. Yeah. Goat. Yeah, I was criminal of it once too, but stay humble and be mature, have fun with it, simple. Exactly. Of course, I'm competitive. And of course, I like to fight and, and decide who has a better verbal competency, who can marshal their arguments better. I do enjoy that, but I'm not going to fucking try to dox you or fucking attack you with ad hominems if you beat me. If you beat me, you're the better man that day. It is what it is. But don't be a bitch and be fake and disingenuous. And Kakuzu has raw durability. Gaara's sand is faster than the 4th Raikage. I'm like, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. If Naruto had failed at using Talk no Jutsu on Obito, could they have beaten him? Yeah, a lot of people would have beaten him. Kakashi would have stayed dead if Pain didn't succumb to it. Obito probably would have won the war if he didn't succumb to it, stayed Jubito and had a conviction. Yeah, a lot of things would have changed. Kakashi got bodied by Asuma henchmen as Edo. Facts. The fuck are these people talking about? Also, anti-power scalers are somehow even more dishonest. I don't understand. You know what I can call anti-power scalers? I can call them anti-logic. Do you not conform to logical deduction? You know, Super Saiyan Goku beat Frieza. Or that's just an example. And an anti-power scaler would say, no, that was just for plot. No, that's logical. It doesn't matter what the plot is, you know. Plot devices exist, right? When there's a blatant inconsistency in something, sure. But logic needs to be used, even in fantasy-based realities. It's the best way to have discussions that are fruitful. If everyone's like, we never do know, we don't know the writer's intentions, like, shut the fuck up. We do know their intentions. Because they're giving it to us via narrative implication, via feats, you know. It's bullshit. I think Sasuke takes it too. Agreed, yep. Kakashi probably slower than Kakashi in that fight. Yeah, because you could argue because he didn't use MS, right? He didn't use MS. So you could argue that with MS he would have been superior in speed, right? And he did blitz Kakashi. Well, granted it was from behind. He was fast enough to hit him in the heart. So yeah, it's a good. There's arguments for it. But I don't think I've told you guys yet, but tonight I am posting a debate. It's an IRL debate. I've been, besides anime and sports, I've been like delving in the red pill community, trying to understand its ideology. So I debated an actual female, on the red pill community and whether it was toxic or not. So I'm not gonna say what happened, my stance or anything. It's gonna be up tonight, probably right after the stream. It's gonna be a debate. It's quite interesting, I would say myself personally, and you guys can decide who won that one. You know, it'll be up tonight. Bro, Kakashi's weakened in the Kakashi fight, so the fight doesn't scale to full power Kakashi anyway. Facts. Whole debate doesn't need to happen. Full power Kakashi lost the pain. Facts. What's this? Where's the contention? You know, where is it? Where the fuck is it? And like the argument that I hear, which is fucking really retarded, is that Kakashi was moving side to side by Itachi when they were going to the battlefield during the war arc. That doesn't prove their speed. Well, you can rationally assume that they were going full speed. Why would they go full speed? You know, like, this is fucking retarded, man. And Itachi was carrying another man. He was carrying Nagato anyway. So he wasn't able to go full speed. He had another grown man on his back. They were going the same speed because Kakashi scales to Itachi's speed. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. The best ones are when people say Zetsu speed blitz KCM2 Minato. Oh my fucking god. Yeah, that's fucking horseshit. Such bullshit. The whole premise behind Zetsu is to be the Akatsuki's bitch and hide in the shadows for intel reasons. He's never speed blitzing people and fucking them up. You know, it's fucking stupid. Dude, Pain was so dominant against Kakashi, he had to use Mangekyo. And he still lost. He kind of showed him mercy. He's like, you know what? Let me just flick a fucking little screw at him. Let's kill him this way because I respect Kakashi. Let me just give him a little bit of mercy. You know? That's how much more dominant he was. Remember that Kabuki tried so hard to debate that Shin wasn't stronger than Madara. Jesus. Kabuki's a special character, man. Entertaining guy. Definitely. An entertaining cat. But funny guy. You know, that was a debate. That was a very bizarre debate. Facts. Saying they're the same speed is like saying Kakashi, Rin, and Obito as kids are Minato's speed. Exactly. The fuck? You're telling me that fucking Minato's the same speed as fucking Rin? Does Rin fucking have, you know, these over light speed reaction times? The fuck? It's fucking retarded, man. Stupid ass shit. I saw the Zetsu blitzed KCM2 thing. I remember that's horrible. Black Zetsu was struggling against Chanchiro. Exactly. The fuck? The healing factor. Exactly. horseshit ass fucking disingenuous rat ass arguments that I hear. Such bullshit. Madara's experience just lets him tank Sakura's punch. Oh, I remember that part of the debate. His experience is why he should scale over Sakura. Well, Kakazu's thousands of years old, and Kakashi was competing with him. Shut the fuck up. You know? Experience makes you scale above everybody. Shut up. It's fucking stupid. So ratty. Kakashi was holding back heavily. He wanted to help Team Asuma avenge their sensei. I agree. I mean, the fact that he didn't use MS implies, him holding back. That's not him going all out. He's not using MS. He's not trying to calmly Kakazu's ass into the calmer dimension. He's not doing that, These arguments were so funny to listen to in real time. The ability to marshal your arguments. It's sad that some people just don't have an efficient ability to do so. They don't have the ability to marshal their arguments, to get all their information straight, to make it all logically valid and all logically sound. They don't have that. It's either they don't have the ability or they're willfully ignorant. And this goes back to ego. The reason that they stay ignorant and they're so persistent via these ad nauseum bullshit rat arguments is because they have an ego. So these bullshit ratty arguments are continued to be spewed because they're unwilling to concede their points because of their pride. And it's very bizarre. It's very bizarre. That's like the equivalent of a doctor saying, that this medicine X doesn't work because of this unsound logical reason. And the doctors say, no, it's not true. Logically, this medicine does work. And the guy, no, it doesn't. And he dies on that hill because he's a fucking rat. It's the same thing with anime. It's the same, it's an analogy that perfectly illuminates the bullshit. The reason why Kakashi even went was to make Tsunade give them the green card to leave anyway. It was a Team 10 thing, not a battle for Kakashi. Yeah, Kakashi was just more of support, It was more support. Because if he had killer intent, he would have started out in MS. If he had killer intent, if he wanted to exterminate Hidan and Kakuzu, he would have used MS anyway. Kakashi versus Tsunade. Switch Kakashi with Kabuto during Naruto. Well, the way I look at it is, Orochimaru states that they're relative, right? That he's Kakashi level. But when we see them interact, Kakashi's like, you don't want to mess with the big boy. You don't want to mess with an adult. And Kabuto conceded and took off, right? When they had that short encounter. That implies to me Kakashi has some level of superiority. Kakashi acknowledges is like, you don't want to mess with the big boys here. You don't want to mess with an adult. Kabuto's like, oh, fuck that. I'm dipping, right? So he wasn't confident enough. And you could counter that and say, well, it doesn't prove that specifically. But it seems to imply it. So I would say Kakashi would have more success against Tsunade. Let's say that the roles are switched, like you said. Kakashi might even kill Tsunade with, let's say, hypothetically, he's bloodlusted. He uses a fucking Chidori. Tsunade has this phobia for blood. She's fucked. That phobia, mentally and physically, nerfed her ass. And that was one of the most humiliating events of Tsunade's career. So, yeah, Mei is the Lava Star girl. That low-key struggled against MS Sasuke in the line of iron. Yeah, Mei's fucking ass, bro. Yeah, she's fucking ass. The most least respected Kage out of the 5 Kage, So, she is trash. Kakashi uses Genjutsu and makes Tsunade see blood. Facts. You could just do that and make her shit her pants. Your arm got chopped off. Oh, God. It's over. One shot. Simple as that. So, it'd be easy. Sasori versus Kakuzu. Well, Sasori scales above Deidara, who scales to Hebi Sasuke, who scales above Rasen Shuriken Naruto, who scales above Kakuzu. Hence, Sasori probably wins. Yeah. Via the property of transitivity, Sasori would win. Right? You put all the pieces together. Bro, fixing that savage. Dude, Mei needs to help. Dude, she should be so OP in terms of ability, but her physicals are just not there. Facts. Agreed. Hidan versus Zabuza. Interesting. I do think that base Sharingan not Sasuke. Base Sharingan Kakashi is above that Kakashi specifically that fought Hidan is above part 1 base Sharingan Kakashi. It's empirically proven he has better stamina. He's able to control the Sharingan better, etc. I would argue his physical attributes have increased as well. So probably, maybe Hidan, because of Kakashi's stamina issues in part 1 were fucking awful. But it's still contentious. Zabuza, has his problematic abilities as well, right? Like the Demon Mist, and theoretically, if he's able to use the Demon Mist in time, if he's relative enough in speed to Hidan, he wouldn't be able to see where he is, and he chops off Hidan's head and beats him via, BFR, essentially. He cuts his fucking head off. He's useless. So, but in conclusion, I lean towards Hidan. Yeah. Zabuza would hit and miss and chop his head off. It's a possibility, yeah. I really do think Hidan wins. I do too. Rationally, I think it makes sense, right? Kakashi gets stronger over time, and Hidan gives him a decent fight, taijutsu wise, and him in his base Sharingan with his base Sharingan, So I could see that side as well. Kimimaro versus Haku. I lean towards Kimimaro. The only thing that makes Haku a special person of note is the whole bullshit light speed scaling. But you could simply just deduce and say she's only that speed when she's using the mirrors, right? That she has that kind of speed. And Naruto with one tail was reacting to it. And Naruto, amped by the tail chakra, wasn't able to fuck with Kimimaro. So maybe it wasn't the one tail, but still. I lean towards Kimimaro, yeah. Rationally and empirically, I think that's the right answer. So once again, folks, thanks for the donations though. You guys are all fucking goated. You guys have been donating consistently throughout the streams, greatly appreciated. It incentivizes me to just keep working, and of course I answer those questions in depth. Of course, you guys donate, I give more in-depth answers as well. And, it's interaction. I appreciate the donations. You guys are fucking goats. Healthy Kimimaro. Yeah, that's important. Healthy. Definitely healthy, for sure. Kabuto versus Kimimaro. Interesting. Let's see. Kabuto versus Kimimaro. Let's think about that one. Kabuto is slightly inferior to Kakashi, right? And now the question is, where does Kimimaro scale in comparison to those guys? That's an interesting question. Now, we have to compare Kakashi to the guys that Kimimaro fought. Now, Drunk Rock Lee is still inferior to my guy. My guy said he had to try, but he just didn't have the lethal force intent, right? Like killer intent. But my guy had to try. So I would deduce that probably Kakashi. Probably Kabuto, because he's relative to Kakashi. So I would lean towards Kabuto. But that's a contentious one, yeah. Bloodlusted Haku beating most part 1, in my opinion. Yeah, most people that we've seen, she probably would. Especially if she's using the Bloodlust, she's going to use her mirrors jutsu or whatever. So, yeah. Alright, folks, feel free to keep asking your questions. Any and all questions. IRL questions. Red Pill questions. Anime questions. Sport questions. Political questions. Controversial questions. Fuck it. We're a jack of all trades in this around these parts. Fighting questions, everything. What about the argument of Kimimaro involvement in the third Hokage fight would bury the third quick? I don't think I'm familiar with the argument. So, Kimimaro's involvement in the third Hokage fight would bury... So the argument is that if Kimimaro was involved in the third Hokage fight... If you can elaborate on that more, I could probably answer that. That's referring to Healthy Kim, though. Have you read JJK yet? Not yet. I've been on the Bleach tangent, with obligations arising, I've had to limit my Bleach intake, but I have to finish that. And I think JJK is going to be next on my list. Yeah. That's the one that catches my eye the most right now, is JJK. And Gojo's ability to manipulate, perception manipulation, and the whole thematic aspect behind Infinity is very interesting. To get into depth on that, I need to check that out. Black Suit Toby versus Captain America pre-Thor hammer. It's contentious because this is the way I look at it. Toby is superior to Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Why? Because he stopped a bloodlusted Tom Holland from killing Green Goblin. And that wasn't Black Suit Toby. That was an older, probably weaker Spider-Man, right? Age usually correlates to weakness, right? You start to wither away. So Black Suit Toby is stronger than Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Tom Holland's Spider-Man failed to defeat Captain America in Civil War. Right? He overpowered Tom Holland when he had his arms tied up. He overpowered him, beat him. Now you have to quantify Toby's strength with the black suit. That's kind of tough, right? Because we never see him interact with Captain. We see him interact with Tom. So we know that both Captain America and clearly Black Suit's Toby are above Tom Holland's Spider-Man. So then we compare those two. Who's stronger between the two? I would argue there's an argument for Toby because he stopped bloodlusted Tom Holland. That's probably the most angry we've ever seen Tom Holland ever in any movie, because he was enraged by the fact that Green Goblin killed his aunt, right? And he wasn't enraged against Captain. He was just chilling, just doing his thing, trying to show off to Iron Man. So I would lean towards Black Suit Toby. So, of course, that's not concrete. It doesn't necessarily prove it, but I think it's a good train of thought. Healthy Kimimaro Kabuto stated that if Kimi was healthy, he would make the third Hokage fight much easier. Right, but the way I look at it is, another thing you take into consideration is when Orochimaru takes control of your body, he adds on to your already high caliber, right? So Sasuke, right, for example, when he absorbed Orochimaru, he got stronger, right, because of Orochimaru's attributes. So you could argue that maybe healthy Kimimaro could, or maybe he's only saying that because Orochimaru would combine his own abilities with that of Kimimaro. And to counter my own claim, Orochimaru was stronger than Heavy Sasuke, as stated by Soigetsu. So maybe you are right in that sense as well. It's contentious. There's different things you gotta look at. So he wasn't that old. He looked like he was in the late 40s. If anything, he was stronger. Yeah, it's contentious. But the point is, Black Suit Toby is stronger than Red Spider-Man, right? When he's embracing the malevolence, at least. That means Kabuto would still scale. What's his status then? It is because Kabuto is a medical nin. That's why he didn't volunteer to fight heroes, or he was just weaker. Yeah, he would be fodder in that fight. He's not near that level. I just remember Kabuto got bodied by one tail. Exactly. He'd be fodderized in that fight. That's why he wasn't helping Orochimaru. It'd be a fucking liability. Pecan versus Super Saiyan 2 Gohan from Cell Saga. So I think I got Pecan's feats again. It's been a while since I've even thought about that guy. Pecan. Let's see. Let's look at Versus Wiki real quick. It's been a while since I've even thought about Pecan. Let's see. Where does he scale? Let's see here. Solar system level, effortlessly knocked out Toeiverse super perfect so one hit while heavily restricting his power. Shit. But that is Toeiverse. That's pretty impressive. I might lean towards Pecan because that feat's pretty fucking impressive. You know, Super Saiyan 2 Gohan did have to fight off Cell a little bit, but if Pecan's doing this kind of damage, that's fucking ridiculous. I might lean towards Pecan based on what I know, the top of my head. For a better analysis, I'd probably have to look into it. Good fight in my opinion. That I agree with. I do agree it would be a good fight. It wouldn't be like one-sided on either side. I forgot in Shippuden, Naruto wailed and wrecked Kabuto. And Kakashi was able to subdue one-tail Naruto instantly. Correct. So you could scale Kakashi in comparison to Kabuto based off those feats that they did. Alright, folks. Any and all questions are welcomed. Super chat questions are prioritized, of course. Shout out to the other goat that's he's been donating a lot and kind of asking these animal-based questions. Those are goated too. They're interesting, so I enjoyed answering those as well. Bone Man, relative to KCM Naruto, One-Tail Naruto, relative to Kakashi, who are both above Kabuto. It's fair. That's very fair scaling. How strong could Goten be if he trained like Goku? If I'm not mistaken, let me make sure that this statement is canonical and that I'm correct about it. Let's see. Apparently, the notion is that Goten even has more potential than Gohan. Now, I don't know if that's explicitly stated. I believe I heard it somewhere, but that's the top of my head. I'm a little blurry on it. But if that's the case, if he trained like Goku, he'd be a fucking monster by now. He'd be at a different level, maybe around Gohan's level, maybe above. He is younger, so his progression would be a little different, but it would be insane what he'd be doing, what he'd be able to accomplish. Could the Yadamir block truth-seeking orbs? That's a good question, because the truth-seeking orbs are like all chakra natures in one, right? And they have like these special properties that disintegrate people upon touch. The Yadamir seems to defend against everything, but theoretically, if all properties were combined, would it be able to deflect that? It's kind of it's all theoretical, but I would argue it might possibly penetrate it because of the properties. So I would argue it's possible that it would penetrate that. But then again, we don't know. So do you think each tail is a 10 times amp? CM2 is a 10 times amp. One tail Naruto fought CM2 Sasuke, so that would give Naruto multiple 10 times amps. 10 tail is each tail a 10 tail amp? It's a hard question. It's a hard question to answer, but the way I look at it is, I kind of look at it as like the way Dragon Ball Fusion works. I think as each tail grows, you do obviously get an increase in power, but I think as you gain an additional tail, I don't think it's not a linear increase of increasing rate of power. I think it's kind of like an exponential increase, so it's not linear, right? So I don't think each boost in power is exactly a specific multiplier. From my perspective, I think it's more exponential. I think as each tail is added, the power grows exponentially. So it wouldn't be so much as linear. I think it would be more so exponential. Maybe not exactly an exponential function, but it would be like a function that isn't linear. So faster than linear. Basically my thought on it. But CM2, yeah, we know it's a 10 times amp, right? There's a lot of ambiguity there, but that's the way I look at it, at least. Let's see here. Goten and K-Trunks have insane potential, bro. Goten went Super Saiyan on accident. Exactly. Which kind of like illuminates that the statement I'm thinking of is probably true, that he has more potential than everybody. Yeah. Kisame versus Sage Mode Naruto. I mean, yeah, think about it. Goten and Trunks are capable of going Super Saiyan 3 fusing. That's fucking crazy. That's fucking ridiculous. Goku is a grown man. He's barely going Super Saiyan 3. You have little kids going Super Saiyan 3. Not even Gohan was doing that, you know. Not even Gohan. So, I feel you. Yeah. That's my thoughts, at least. You know, it's hard to put a numerical value on the multiplier, but basically each tail gives you more chakra, but not exactly 10 time boost. Yeah, I would say the boosts increase as the tails are added. Right? So maybe theoretically one tail gives you a 10 times boost. Two tails maybe gives you a 20 time boost. You know, I think it's the tails and the multipliers increase to some arbitrary degree. That's the way I look at it. And I think empirically you can make an argument that makes sense, right? With the one tail, he's able to take out Kabuto. With four tails, He almost fucking kills Jiraiya. Now, obviously, it's hard to quantify the difference in power between those two, but you know that the feats kind of imply the drastic increase. You know, so I got to go, but I hope you great rest of your night. Appreciate it, Geoduck. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it. Each tail should at least be at 9.99 times amp. Yeah, that's a fair train of thought. Kabuto needed that Sage Mode for his power progression, no doubt. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he needed to evolve. Run one Renegon Sage Mode Madara versus Jubito. Probably, yeah, Jubito. Yeah. Jubito was superior to Hashirama, who was relative to Madara. And even Madara stated, right, when Madara did absorb his Sage Mode, that's when he was barely saying, "Oh, you're starting to approach your true power. You're starting to reach your power of the past," which is implying they never were even at their full power, you know. So, by the way, folks, hit the like button. Hit the like button. Get us up in the algorithm. The more likes, the better. I think we hit 30 likes on one of the past live streams. That's really good. You know, gets more eyeballs. And these streams get a lot of views after the fact, like after the live. It just keeps, you know, more people becoming interested in the interactions that take place. You know, the rhetoric that is the rhetoric that's being presented. So the more likes, the better. And again, thanks for all the donations. Any donations will be prioritized, of course. But continuing on. Yeah, I think the boost also has to do with Naruto maturity as a shinobi, because dude, what he did to Orochimaru with Fortel, my god, indescribable. Agreed. A good tangent to bounce off of that statement is that over time, right? So let's compare One Tail Naruto as a kid to possibly One Tail Naruto in Shippuden. I would argue that Shippuden One Tail Naruto is stronger than the kid Naruto, because I think over time, as Naruto slowly began to tame Kurama, these physical bonds, maybe you can correlate it to chemistry based off the name of Baryon mode, right? Baryon mode is connected to chemistry. I think that became more optimal. Those chemical reactions or chemical bonds. That's all speculation, but the way I look at it is they worked more and more in harmony as time went on. And obviously, once he tamed Kurama and befriended him, the connection became optimal, and he got KCM, and he got way stronger. And I would argue, as he grew to an adult, that only further they would only become further more complementary towards each other. So that's why he got so much stronger as time went on. That's the way I look at it, you know, from a rational standpoint. Obviously, that's not stated, but that's the way I look at it. And that would also make Baryon mode make sense, right? So Naruto is insane. Clearly the strongest version 2 with less tails in comparison. 9 tails chakra, insane. Agreed. Moral full power versus Jiren. Personally, if Moro can't take his life force, Jiren would win that fight. I agree with that, yeah. Jiren I think he's always overlooked a lot, to be honest. MS Sasuke relative KCM2 Naruto, who are above Sage Mode Naruto relative to Pain. MS Sasuke is relative to KCM2 Naruto. I don't know about that. I think EMS Sasuke was relative to KCM2 Naruto. I don't know if MS Sasuke, because the way it was is Sage Mode Naruto was inferior to MS Sasuke, as stated by Naruto himself, right? So we had that. Then he got KCM. His speeds surpassed that even in the Raikage, who Sasuke struggled with. So it only makes sense that he's superior to that. And then Sasuke got EMS, and then it kind of equalized, and then went from there. That's the way I look at it. Version 2, Four Tails at least above the Sannin base. Like, come on, I have to agree. But yeah, probably. You're probably right on that. Yeah, they would need their next transformation for sure. Agreed. Base Sannin? Yeah, they would. I see your point. Yeah, because there's a it's kind of like the Goku versus Vegeta thing. There's this threshold, right? At the beginning of Shippuden, Sasuke was blatantly superior to a ridiculous degree over Naruto. Naruto's fucking... He was Sasuke's bitch. Right? Sasuke could have killed him with the Kyurem if Orochimaru didn't stop him. Over time, Naruto started to claw his way. And when he got Sage Mode, he was still... When he got Sage Mode, Sasuke got MS already at that point. He was still inferior. And it wasn't until KCM1 where the tide started to turn and they started to be more relative in the war arc, as evident by them working in conjunction. And that shows relativity, right? So. And by the way, Pain is above Sage Mode Naruto. He is above him. Because Sage Mode Naruto fought a increasingly fatigued Pain, right? An increasingly fatigued Pain. He was away from the Rain Village, right? He fucking used a chaotic Shinra Tensei to destroy the whole fucking village. And then he lost a few Pains along the way that he had to regenerate with chakra, essentially. So that was, and he had no intel, by the way. Say Naruto had all the fucking intel because he had fucking Katsuyu giving him fucking advice in his ear. So he was heavily handicapped, and he still beat Naruto. And the only reason he lost is because of the Nine Tails. So he definitely scales above Sage Mode Naruto, and probably scales above MS Sasuke, to be quite honest. He probably scales above him too. Which Sannin could subdue Naruto before going to Six Tails in subsequent forms? Which Sannin could subdue Naruto before going to Six Tails? I think Orochimaru, maybe. Probably Orochimaru. Orochimaru will struggle with 4 Tails or above. He's going to have a tough time. Jiraiya will probably die, and Tsunade will get fucking clapped. So, Orochimaru would have the most success because of his durability, his hacks, his ability to create seals. Maybe he could theoretically strengthen the seal that Minato put on Naruto as the fight progresses, and make it tougher for Naruto to awaken more Tails or something like that. So Orochimaru has the best odds. So, alright folks, any and all questions are welcomed. Did Orochimaru actually scale to Itachi Susanoo with the Hydra? Anyone can answer. With the Hydra, you can make an argument and say, well, he was confident enough to blitz the Susanoo when in previous points in history he would never even dare approach Itachi. But then you can counter that and say, well, he has the ability to use Hydra, so why didn't he just use that to take Itachi's body? So you could use that argument to kind of debunk what I just said. So I would say no, I don't think he scales to Itachi Susanoo. With the Yada Mirror. Maybe without the Yada Mirror, he might have been able to do something. You think there should be more videos explaining how power scaling works? The power scaling community is oddly small when most people talk about stuff like. I think so. I think there needs to be guys that make it crystal clear to the casuals what power scaling is, and essentially, it's the ability to deduce where people are on the power scaling totem pole, and that just takes logical deduction. It's basically a puzzle you have to solve by looking at the narrative being told. Sometimes it involves mathematical calculation if you're looking at specific power levels like Dragon Ball, for example, and sometimes it takes the ability to logically deduce based on narrative implications like in Naruto or like in other shows like Bleach. So I think there should be a guy that establishes the standards that are necessary to power scale efficiently. So I think that would be very beneficial. Do you think Gojo versus War Kakashi is a great fight? Again, I'm not too familiar on Gojo. He seems pretty powerful, but I don't know enough to deduce safely what he's capable of. But I did watch Seth's video, and he seemed to imply that Kakashi would beat him, at least the stronger versions, from what I remember. Right? He says that Kakashi probably still beats him. So from that, I extrapolate he thinks that Kakashi is superior to him power scaling wise. So again, I haven't seen the narrative yet of JJK, so I haven't explored it enough. I get confused on why Itachi thought it was a need to kill the Uchiha, because if he didn't, the Uchiha would die for the most part anyway. Why didn't he reason for Gaku try reasoning the different angle? That's a good question. And the reason why that is because Hiruzen had a weak spine. He didn't have the iron fist to put Danzo in check. Part of him probably wanted a peaceful outcome, but he let Danzo run the show. Danzo said, "Oh, we have to do this, blah blah," and Hiruzen kind of just conceded to his point and didn't challenge him despite being a Hokage. That speaks testament to Hiruzen's weak leadership, and this all could have been avoided if Hiruzen was a more iron fist leader and said, "No, I'm in charge. I'm stronger than you are. I'm the one in charge. We're gonna do this shit this way, and I'm gonna go talk to Fugaku right fucking now. You're not. This shit's not happening. There is no ultimatum that you're giving Itachi. We're doing things my fucking way." He didn't have the guts to do that. He didn't have the leadership skills to do it. So that's why Itachi did what he did. And as far as Itachi thought it was a need to kill the Uchiha because he didn't. If he didn't, Itachi would have died for the most part anyway. The reason he did that is because he didn't want Sasuke to die. He cared more about Sasuke than anyone else in existence, and he was willing to sacrifice the entire clan for his brother. That's how much he cared about him. It's like, fuck it, I'll kill everybody else, and I'll save the leaf. I'll save the leaf from extinction or from mass extermination, and I'll save my brother's life. That's why he did it. So, based on what you see on Bleach so far, does Naruto compare quality to... Based on what I've seen, Naruto seems to scale quite above it. And the only problem with Bleach is, as far as, because I haven't investigated the literature too much yet, is that they don't give you a lot to go based off of, right? So to kind of calculate AP is difficult because you only see what they do to each other. I don't really see him destroying mountains and shit like that. I've seen Ichigo destroy like a large hill, which doesn't put him anywhere near like top tier Naruto characters, but that isn't enough for me to like deduce where he's at. So my answer to that question would be no. I don't think they compare very well to Naruto characters right now. Again, I'm early in Bleach, so maybe that will change. So I think right now, no, he doesn't scale to them, nor do any of the other top tier. Maybe Aizen, because I haven't seen shit what he can do, and he seems like a dog. You know, he's got that dog in him. He seems like he can do some damage. Maybe Aizen scales to some of these characters in Naruto. It's a possibility. I don't know yet though, so that's all me. That's all hearsay, speculation. Got you. Thanks. You the goat. Appreciate that, brother. I always felt like Fugaku could have been huge in the series if he lived with his MS, whatever his abilities. I agree. His original proposition to the Uchiha was to manipulate the Nine Tails like Obito. Right, and I made a video on this quite some time ago about what if Itachi didn't kill the Uchiha clan. If you want to check that video out, go ahead. It's in my Naruto videos playlist, and I got into in depth on what if things went differently. At least my perspective. Not to spoil the video, but essentially, what would happen is Fugaku, right? Let's say that there was no ultimatum, or not that Itachi didn't want to do what his original decision was, and he wanted to help the Uchiha instead. They would probably get Obito's help. I think he'd still go to Obito, considering that he thought he was Madara, and he would give Fugaku advice and say, "Hey, the Nine Tails is hard to control. We can do this ourselves. We don't need the Nine Tails. We can take out the village. Minato's dead. He's gone. So we can do this on our own." So essentially, that's what would happen most likely. If you want to see the whole story, I have a video on a playlist. I get in depth on that scenario, but that's part of it. But Fugaku would have been a big part. He would have led the coup d'etat alongside Obito. So, and they would have took out the leaf, and they probably would have won. Fugaku, Obito, Itachi against a weaker Kakashi, no Sharingan, against a old Hiruzen and no Minato. Good luck. Danzo, my guy would be the most problematic because he has the 8 gates. They would have to Genjutsu him like that. Genjutsu him out of the equation, because if he goes the 8 gates, they're fucked. So Itachi would have to catch him in Tsukuyomi immediately. And he probably could. Against these weaker opponents. Kakashi barely knew how to use a Sharingan. He definitely couldn't use MS at that time, clearly. So, history would have been much different. Alright, folks, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to ask. Any and all. IRL questions, anime, sports. Uchiha and Madara is a way bigger milestone than the Akatsuki, that's for sure. Agreed. See if anyone's asking any other questions here. Feel free to keep asking questions, folks, while I look for more pre-live stream questions, trying to see if any were recently asked. Let's see here. Someone asked, I'm not really familiar with this. What's the FNAF lore? I think that's full Five Nights at Freddy's. I think that's what he's talking about. I played that game when I was a kid. As far as the lore, I don't really know anything about Five Nights at Freddy's. I just know it's like a horror-based game on the phone. So I know there's conspiracy theories that it was created because there really was like malevolent people working in Chuck E. Cheese or some shit. I don't know anything about that, but whole conspiracy theory thing. Do you know of Mike McCallum? It sounds familiar. Let me look that up. I feel like I heard that name somewhere. Let's see. Okay, so he's an award-winning director, writer. Wait. I think there's two different Mike McCallums here. There's a boxer, too. I think that's probably the one you're talking about. I'm out, Jay. Keep writing. But I appreciate you coming in, brother. Thanks for coming in. And yeah, definitely keep bringing those content. Definitely keep bringing it out. Mike McCallum. He was never knocked out as a professional. Very, very impressive feat. Jamaican professional boxer. To not get knocked out is extremely difficult in combat sports. The vast majority of guys get fucked up, clearly. Nagato versus War Kakashi or Orange Mask Obito. Nagato versus... First, let's start with War Kakashi. I think War Kakashi... So you gotta look at his arsenal, his speed feats. He scales to Bijou. I mean, he was reacting to Bijou when White Mask Obito was controlling them, throwing Raikuris around, Kamui, things like that. Him and my guy both. Nagato, I mean, he was outspeeding KCM1 Naruto casually. Almost ripped his fucking soul out. The question is, would he do the same to Kakashi? I do think he would. I think Nagato's speed and his hacks would be too much for War Kakashi. I think it would be problematic. As far as Orange Mask Obito, you could argue that he scales to Minato's speed because of what he did as a teenager. I think that would be a very interesting battle. If Obito is fast enough, if the gap is significant enough, he's just going to BFR Nagato and put him in the Kamui dimension. It'd be as simple as that. And that's probably something he would do, knowing Nagato's ability and arsenal to avoid any risk of getting caught in something like a Shinra Tensei or Chibaku Tensei. So I'd probably say Obito beats him, but Nagato beats Kakashi. So that's my take on it, at least. The greatest Jamaican boxer of all time, except if you count Lennox. Oh yeah, Lennox is a fucking legend. He beat Tyson. I think he beat Holyfield, if I'm not mistaken. One of the greatest heavyweights of all time. I think he has a better chance against Orange Mask Obito. Really? I think it's the opposite. But I'm a fan of Lennox Lewis as a Jamaican myself, but I agree with Mike McCallum being the best. Yeah. Well, from my perspective, Lennox is definitely more known, but yeah. I think Nagato slaps Kakashi at full power, especially do the performance against... Exactly, yeah. Basically, that kind of establishes the speed, yeah. You get overwhelmed by Nagato. You get overwhelmed, most likely. So... Just a quick shout out I want to make, though, is to Clyde. I actually talked to Clyde for quite some time. It was just random, like, hanging out. You know, hit me up, and we talked on Discord for a while. Gave me some advice, so if Clyde ever watches this, or anyone that knows Clyde knows him, shout out to him for that. I appreciate the advice that he gave me, on this business. And then he actually gave me some advice on debating as well. So I appreciate Clyde's advice. Appreciate Clyde. I fuck with Clyde. I fuck with Seth. So I appreciate that. So if anyone knows Clyde, or Clyde ever watches this, I appreciate that. Just wanted to say that because, I appreciate the advice. Clyde's a GOAT. He's goated in this community. He makes great content. He's one of the best. Great Bleach content. Great UFC content. I'm a fan, for sure. Do you think Almighty Push can negate Kamui? That's a really good question. So we gotta look at the properties of those. So, apparently when Obito summons these long-distance Kamuis, they appear out of thin air. So theoretically, let's say Nagato activates the Shinra Tensei, and Obito tries to beat him to the punch and Kamui his ass away. I don't think the Shinra Tensei would negate that. If anything, that point, right, that center, that epicenter, would still be the same. It wouldn't negate or push it away necessarily. Now, if theoretically the Kamui summoned and the Shinra Tensei is coming at the same exact time simultaneously, I don't think that it would push it or something like that. I don't think that would happen, at least from a rational standpoint. Obviously, I can't prove that. I think it would still stay in place. That Kamui, that epicenter where the Kamui is opening to where things can get siphoned into the dimension. I don't think that would affect that. I think it's more physical objects, things of that nature that it negates. So, of course, it's all theoretical though. Can't really prove that, but that's my thoughts on it. And anyway, I think Obito's faster either way. I think he would react quicker than Pain would react. I think empirically speaking, he has the advantage of speed. Do you think Almighty? Okay. Don't you guys think Kakashi's skills to KCM2 Minato and speed based on their feat against Zetsu Obito? I would argue that was a nerfed Obito. Nerfed Obito. He wasn't taking things as serious. He was very arrogant during that exchange. So it wasn't him seeing and being observant of the margin for error. Against Minato, he was on his heels. Against Kakashi, he was like, I'm better than you. I'm better than all of you. I think it's weird to think about right now how Almighty Push would interact with Kamui. It's very interesting. Yeah, it's bizarre. Like when he used it against the Rasen Shuriken, that jutsu just poofed. Exactly. And that's a ninjutsu. Would genjutsu work in other verses? So we gotta break down the properties that are behind genjutsu, right? It affects your chakra network. It disrupts it, and it manipulates your vision because of your chakra network that's embedded in you as a shinobi. Other verses don't have chakra networks, so it depends on our presupposition. Would someone with ki get affected by a genjutsu, even though that the user of such a genjutsu has a chakra network, while you have a ki network? Would it? Because you don't have chakra, it doesn't exist in your verse, right? So that's something that really can't be answered. I would lean towards maybe yes, but again, it's unprovable. It's an unprovable claim, and it all depends on your presupposition. Most people seem to acknowledge that they probably would work on someone that has a similar anatomy to shinobi, physically speaking. They have eyes, they have the 5 senses, so they would say yeah, it would affect them. But again, it's all theoretical. True, the environment would be a factor. I agree. Yep, it would be. Do you think if all 3 signing could defeat Pain, all abilities and summons are included? Do I think they could beat Pain altogether? Honestly, I think they lack the speed. They lack the AP. I don't think so. Even all 3 of them. Even Hydra Orochimaru, I think is still he's not strong enough. All Pains together at full power? I don't know, man. That's quite the threat. You could just theoretically Shibaku Tensei all their asses at the same time. They're all fucked, And he's faster than them all, empirically speaking. All of them. So even Sagemo Jiraiya got his ass clapped by Pain. So that's arguably the fastest one, reaction time speaking, at least as far as reaction times. I do think Almighty Push could give Obito some pressure though, because when he tries to Kamui anyone, he is vulnerable to attack. Right. And when he Kamuis himself, there's a small window where you can attack. If you're theoretically fast enough, like KCM2 Naruto was fast enough to clip him when Kakashi caught on to them having the same Sharingans. Theoretically, if Pain is fast enough, yeah, that could be a problem. That could be a problem. If he times it right, he could fuck him up. Yeah, theoretically. But I think it would be problematic because of the speed advantage that Obito seemingly has. When we look at the empirical evidence, right? He has just greater speed feats. So look at Conan too. I mean, Conan was able to get him pretty good. But I would argue that was because he got him off guard. He didn't expect to see 600 billion paper bombs. And the reason it worked is because there are so many paper bombs that it would blow up long enough to outdo the little time frame, the time window that you have, right? So that is a good argument, though. Yeah. And Conan's much slower, so you could argue someone with considerable more speed could take him. But the only question is the AP. Does Pain's have something of that caliber of destruction? You know, could he do something that has the destructive capability of Conan's 600 billion paper bombs that engulf the whole goddamn sea? You know, like the sea fucking opened up. Pain has a Shinra Tensei. Maybe if he uses a chaotic Shinra Tensei, theoretically, if he times it perfectly, maybe. Or the Chibaku Tensei, you'd have to time that shit perfectly. Because if Obito goes in the Kamui dimension, then he'd get away from its gravitational pull anyway. So that would be problematic as well. It'd be tough, but theoretically might be. If the speed gap isn't vast enough, he might be able to catch Obito. He might be able to. I do think Obito has a speed advantage though, so it'd be tough. When you're fighting someone faster, it's hard to catch them. You know, a good example is boxing. You see Floyd fight Canelo. You can't catch him. He's too fucking fast. Barely touches him. You know, the speed advantage is huge. So it's a good way of looking at it. If Minato placed a seal in the Kamui dimension, then Obito would have lost against him regardless. Exactly. I'm pretty sure it can go beyond dimensions. Nagato's a crazy amount of chakra, way more than Obito, and a special chakra because of his Uzumaki blood. You know, those people had powerful chakra enough to seal. Yeah, so essentially, if you can ward off Obito long enough, right? If you can react in time, and Obito just loses, you know, has chakra depletion to such an extent, then Nagato would have the advantage because he has the stamina advantage. It really comes down to the speed. If Obito is just significantly faster, then he'll just simply Kamui him away. But if there's enough relativity in speed, then Nagato could theoretically ward him off for enough time. So Izanagi would catch Nagato off guard, though. Then you gotta take that into account, and the fact that Obito has other eyeballs that he could go to if he loses an eye. That's why he was willing to lose an eye against Conan, because he has other eyes from the Uchiha clan massacre. So yeah, that's another factor that goes in Obito's favor, is that Izanagi as well. So all the pieces point to Obito probably winning. The speed, the hacks, you know, it's problematic. So Obito's interesting because he doesn't necessarily have a high AP. It's just his fucking hacks. It's a problem. He's fucking fast as shit, and he can BFR your ass like that. You're gone, you know, and you're fucked. You could have fucking planet level AP, but if you're fucking slow as shit, then it doesn't matter. He'll just BFR you anyway. So Nagato's low-key Uzumaki clan prodigy, and his training from Jiraiya gets him to control all that chakra. It's ridiculous. Agreed. I mean, he's fucking powerful as shit. You know, top Akatsuki member. That's quite the accolade. So Obito should know Izanagi too. Excuse me, spelling way Itachi did to Obito, and due to him being trained by Madara, Obito uses that Naruto GG. Facts. I'm sure there's no reason why he wouldn't know it, especially if he's training under Madara, who knows all secrets of the Uchiha. So, Kabuto versus Shino, Kiba, and Rock Lee. During the time, how much trouble would they give him in your opinion? If you mean like Warwick versus Kabuto, let's assume Sage Mode Kabuto, you wiped the floor with him. But well, 6-gate Rock Lee might be interesting, but besides that, it's not even contentious. But if it's Kabuto, let's say during part 1 versus those three, I still think The most contentious part is obviously Rock Lee, because he has the 5 gates. He's able to fucking tag. Oh, Kakazu. Sorry, not Kabuto. Kakazu. Kakazu. So if it's like those respective versions during like the whole Kakazu Hidan arc, they would probably lose. This Rock Lee opening the 6 gates would be interesting though. So the question is he relative to Kakashi with MS or with base Sharingan? People are gonna say, well, he blitzed Madara during the war and cut him in half, and that's him in 6 gates. I'm like, well, shit. If you revere that, then he probably would fuck up Kakazu, cut it and fuck his ass up too. But rationally, I would say it's kind of lean towards Kakazu still, but the only contentious part is the gates. You know, how much of the gap would he close with the 6 gates? Would it be enough to beat him? I don't know. Rationally, I would say no, but we did see him cut Madara in half in the war arc, so it's a tough question to answer. But to answer the question, I would say Kakazu. But I don't blame you for saying the other side either, because of Rock Lee with the 6 gates, kicking Madara in half, you know. But to kind of make that feat seem less consistent, we never see Rock Lee threaten him again. If he's so much more, you know, superior, why the fuck isn't he blitzing him more? What, trying to whip his ass more? You know, that's an argument against it, but it's a tough discussion. So, is Rock Lee allowed the 5th gate? I don't think it matters in part 1, but it should put it even worse. Team Guy versus Zabuza and Haku. Team Guy, huh? I don't think 5 gates Rock Lee is above One Tail Naruto. I tend to lean towards Naruto, but it's a tough question. Guy with the gates probably beats Zabuza. Guy alone might deal with them, to be honest. With the gates open, that is, might deal with them. And then Rock Lee with the gates. I think all of them in conjunction probably beat them. Yeah. Drunken Lee versus Sasuke during Chunin Exam arc and Retrieval arc. Drunken Lee. Well, an important statement that I remember is my guy saying I actually had to try a little bit to put him down. He said the only difference was he didn't use lethal force, which implies he didn't have killer intent, clearly, because he wasn't trying to kill Lee. So he actually had to try to a significant degree to take down Drunk Lee when he kind of like lost his shit. Now, Drunken Lee versus Sasuke during Chunin Exams. That's a good question. I would say he's superior in speed and attributes to Base Lee, and I would say weightless Base Lee. So that means he'd be faster than Sasuke. Now the AP would be the problem. Could Drunk Lee deal with a Chidori coming at him, which increases his speed to some degree too. I would say because of his reflexes, because of his feats against Kimimaro, because my guy actually had to try, which is significant. Drunk Lee might have a shot. Let's remove curse mark. Let's just say it's Sasuke during Chunin Exams. I think Drunk Lee would have a good chance of beating him. I think he had a good chance, yeah. And against Retrieval arc Sasuke, that's gonna be tough to fuck with. Curse mark 2 Sasuke. I don't know about that. I don't think Drunken Lee beats that. Then both have base. I see him 1 or 2. Yeah, it's true. Could Shino's bug drain his chakra enough to allow the other 2? A hard counter to the bugs is the fact that Zabuza is a water style. He's a water style shinobi. So theoretically he'd fuck up all those bugs with some water. You know, throw a dragon, whatever that specific water juice is called, water dragon. Just throw it at his fucking bugs and drown them all. That's theoretically he might be able to counter that. You know. Auto reflex though, that's my problem. Well, you can't assume that he's not able to auto reflex someone my guy's caliber, because my guy was able to sedate him, right? So it's only an auto reflex up to a certain caliber. So it's only a certain caliber that he can auto reflex because he's faster than them. You know, you might have auto reflex, but if you're facing someone faster than you, it doesn't matter. So, but true, it was interesting how the bugs can play a factor because that's a far range suppression. Facts, yeah, true. It would still be interesting. Drunken Lee would need Gates to contend against CM1 Sasuke or CM2 Sasuke though. Imagine that. Oof, that would be interesting. Imagine 5 Gates, Drunk Lee. Fucking my guy might have to open the 7th gate. Fuck around with that. Dead ass, because that's the multiplier on top of the Drunken Lee boost. That'd be very interesting. Very interesting. You know. I think my guy will probably need 6 gates. 5, 6, 7 gates to fucking put his ass down. You know. So that's an interesting that is an interesting hypothetical for sure. All right, folks, about 10 more minutes left unless I get another GOAT donation, then I'll stay longer than 10 minutes. About 10 minutes left unless there's a donation, and I'll stay longer. But yeah. Yeah, the water would be a hard counter then. Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, it's water. Bugs die in water, you know. Alright guys, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to keep asking. And hit the like button once again if you're watching with us live, if you haven't already, or if you're watching the recording, hit the like button, of course. It gets us up in the algorithm, keeps eyeballs coming in, new people coming in, and the army keeps growing, you know. I hope to build an army of logically based individuals, you know, the guys that know when they're wrong and know when they're right. That's the main thing. Kakashi versus Kisame during the Itachi meetup fight. Kisame versus Kakashi during the Itachi meetup fight. I think Kakashi's stamina issues would be very detrimental. He does have Genjutsu to some extent. But Kisame has that hard counter where he can eat your chakra, especially with Samehada. I do think he's probably faster than even Kakashi at his fastest, to be honest. If he goes all out, uses the shark, especially if in his shark form. And if he uses Water Dome, Kakashi's fucked. So probably probably Kisame. But I think it wouldn't be like a one-shot ass whooping either. I think he would give a decent fight. My guy respects him. Right? He's my guy. So Candy Vegeta versus My Hero verse. Candy Vegeta still whips. According to what I know about My Hero, I don't know too much, but I heard they don't scale very high. I might be wrong, but probably Candy Vegeta probably whips out their ass, even in candy form. You will, Jay. Patience is virtue. I agree. I appreciate that, brother. But yeah, for sure, definitely gotta stay patient. I think Kisame wins, but Kakashi would give him a hell of a fight. I agree. Which is supported from what Itachi says from analyzing their power in comparison. Agreed. Yeah. He respects Kakashi. I mean, obviously he's superior to Kakashi, but he respects him. You know, so. And actually plan on possibly, besides reading all the Boruto, because I'm probably sometime this week gonna give my reaction to that. I might read the new chapter whenever it comes out of the Dragon Ball Super manga, because I feel like I am caught up on it enough to understand, you know, the progression. So that might be something I do something new I do, reacting to the new content of Dragon Ball Super as far as the manga. So this week possibly it might be a new thing I do. Whether it's live or recorded, I'm not sure yet, but it's too much goated shit going on not to take part, you know. Fucking Black Frieza, you know, Gohan Beast in the new movie and all that shit. It's crazy. If Itachi decided to side with Uchiha after talking with Danzo, who's winning or living? And the first fight would be Danzo and Itachi first. Danzo is blatantly intimidated by Itachi, and that was before he got amps. Itachi would fuck his ass up with Tsukuyomi. He would not beat Itachi. Highly doubt it. And you could say this safely, knowing Itachi's his IQ, right? He would try to give the same impression that he did in the original storyline, right? By him just, he's given the ultimatum, he just walks away, right? He walks away, and instead of him deciding, okay, I'm going to kill their clan, instead, let's say he decides, I'm going to help my father and the Uchiha take down the Leaf. He would still go to Obito. I really do think he would still ask him for help, especially him being a kid when he saw the first Nine-Tail invasion. He would go to him. He would say, hey, man, we want to take down the Leaf. I know you don't like the Leaf. I saw what happened when you tried to destroy the Leaf. So help us out. And I think he would be willing to help. He would give Fugaku advice. And I think they would train. I think they would hone their skills. All of them. And Itachi would get stronger. Theoretically, he might even be stronger than he was as an Akatsuki member, because he would have actual Uchihas training him. So he might even be stronger than when he was when he fucked up Orochimaru. In this alternate storyline, at least. So they would fucking foderize the Leaf. Hiruzen, he's not beating Obito. Not a more wise, experienced Obito, along with Fugaku, who was a fourth Hokage candidate himself. Itachi mastering his Sharingan ability and his MS ability, with his father giving him more advice. The Leaf gets fucked up. Minato's dead. There is no Minato. He was the only legitimate threat. And this is what I say about my guy. Sure, he has the 8 gates. Itachi would make sure to genjutsu his ass like that. Why? Because he saw Itachi. I mean, Itachi saw what my guy was capable of when he was an Anbu member. He saw, like, oh shit, this guy can use gates. He would keep that in mind. Say, I'm not going to let him open those gates. I'm going to kill him with Tsukuyomi. So that's what he would do to get him out of the equation. Everyone else would just fall. Kakashi would fall to their hand. Hiruzen would fall to their hand. Danzo would get his ass whooped and fall to their hand. And they would take over the Leaf. And then they would make a new village, you know. And there would be a very dangerous nation among the 5 nations. Yeah. So they're fucked. If Itachi decided to change his mind, they would have been fucked. For sure. So Mario would be happy. I would be very happy. And on top of that, Obito would see his opportunity to take Naruto, because Naruto was just a kid. He would take him, probably send him to the Kamui dimension, extract the 9 tails from him. You know, everything would go to plan. No one would stop them. Naruto would never grow up. Sasuke would grow up with a father and his brother. Everything would be different. And Madara would probably win, to be honest. Madara would probably end up winning, and his ideology would triumph over everyone else's. So there is no more threats. They're gone. Minato's dead. Hiruzen's dead. My guy's dead. Naruto never grows up to become a Jinchuriki. He dies. And it's over. You know, so it would greatly change the whole storyline, in my opinion, at least. So it's definitely a scenario I've thought about a lot. So Itachi really gave up everything just on the maybe off chance Sasuke would die. Wow, exactly. He, despite, you know, you could argue he did do it for the greater good, because he knew that both sides would die. Uchiha clan would slaughter Leaf civilians, and then the Leaf would slaughter a lot of Uchihas. To him, it was like, well, if I can protect Sasuke and also avoid the Leaf getting their asses whooped, then I'll do it. You know, there's two sides. Some would say, oh, he only did it for Sasuke. He didn't care about the Leaf. But I would argue he did. He was Itachi was, I would say, a pacifist. You know, he wasn't a nihilist. He was a pacifist. He had very pure intentions. He has his flaws as well. I'd also say he was somewhat of a god complex. He decided to traumatize Sasuke on purpose in the hopes that he would come back and kill him and come back and be a hero, because he thought that he could dictate fate, someone like a god would, and he was wrong. He was wrong because he'd miscalculated, and Sasuke ended up hating the Leaf, which is what Itachi wanted to avoid at all costs anyway. So Itachi miscalculated, so he wasn't perfect. Right, so despite his good intentions, he miscalculated, and Sasuke almost took over the world if it weren't for Naruto beating him in the Valley of the End. You know, so what if Itachi took his father's eyes for EMS after getting the clan? If he took his father's eyes and he got EMS, you could theoretically say he'd be stronger than EMS Sasuke, because EMS Sasuke at the beginning of the war, at least, was as strong as Itachi without EMS, right? They fought in conjunction against Obito. So if he had EMS, he'd be even stronger than that. And essentially he could choose what he'd want to do. He could even take out the Akatsuki. I think he'd fucking foderize the Akatsuki, including Obito. Might even solo them. He'd be in a whole different league, whole different caliber. I wonder what he would do exactly. It's kind of interesting to kind of predict what he would do, because his whole goal was for Sasuke's well-being to be left intact. He's not the type to go out and assassinate people, so I don't know if he'd go to the Leaf and kill Danzo, because he wouldn't want to like have other Leaf Shinobi fighting him. That's not what he wants. He might try to kill Obito, because him and Obito always had this little understanding, right? They had this understanding. Obito knew who was undercover, but they had like this tension that was always there. Obito kind of describes it after Itachi's death. He's like, now that he's gone, there's no threat. But if he had EMS, Obito's falling. You know, he would fall to his hand, to Itachi's hand. So that's probably what he would do. He'd probably kill Obito, and not let him do the infinite Tsukuyomi. So, but yeah. Alright, folks, about 3 more questions. Unless someone donates, then I shall stay longer. All these donations are goated. Batman's a goat. Phantom's a goat. Everyone that's donated are goats. All you guys are goats. About 3 more questions, unless, again, someone donates, and I'll continue. This is a W stream for sure. Alright, someone asks, would Gohan have been stronger than Vegeta with the theoretical fusion of Goku and Gohan with Vitara? Gokhan have been stronger than Vegeta. The theoretical fusion of Goku and Gohan. Well, you could say that is a possibility, right? Especially when you consider his success against, Buu, when he was fighting Buu, the success that he had. He had great success, and obviously his arrogance was his downfall. He ended up getting absorbed in the end. But if him and Goku fused, and if you have the presupposition that Gohan is stronger than Vegeta is, then that would result in a better end product, Gokhan, right? And I could argue against it and say Vegeta is a more well-rounded fighter, more experienced, and I think those intangibles also play a role in the fusion's personality. Right, Vegeta had the perfect blend of Goku's chivalry, but it also had Vegeta's pride. It had their styles blended. So Gohan might have more potential, but I think Vegeta was a better fighter at the time. Maybe not necessarily even stronger, but a better fighter. It's an interesting discussion. I would say it's possible that Gokhan would have been stronger than Vegeta. Yeah, it's a lot of factors. It's a multivariate equation when deciding, but I would lean towards yes because of Gohan's success. The success he had. So, all right, folks. Any more questions you folks may have, feel free to ask. And hit the like button one more time if you haven't already. For the guys that haven't. No one's telling me anything. Dude, Itachi has to at least be slightly terrible human being. Yeah, I suppose so. Some people do think he really is malevolent. I think that he was a realist, and he knows that he had to make a choice. He knew that Hiruzen is a weak leader and wouldn't change anything, so he had to make a choice. It's either jump or don't jump. So he had to make a choice. Could Sasuke have survived the 5 Kage-sama without the EMS? Well, he didn't have EMS. He had MS. If you mean MS, no. He probably would have died. He probably wouldn't have the reaction times. Do you think Jubito would have gotten beaten way quicker if Itachi was still there as an Edo helping with teamwork? Like if he pulled a Madara and used the Edo signs to retract the contract? That's a good question. I think at a certain point he would kind of be a liability because Naruto and Sasuke surpassed even him. At the beginning of the war, yeah, him and Sasuke are relative. But at a certain point, they started to surpass everyone. And eventually, they surpassed even Hashirama himself and Madara. That's probably when they got 6 past, though. But they were surpassing everyone as time went on. All the generations of the past started to be surpassed. Even acknowledged by Tobirama and Hashirama, saying, oh, this guy has a fuckload of chakra. Or Tobirama saying, wow, Sasuke has a lot of potential. Theoretically, though, now that you mentioned the Tosuke Blade, if they work in conjunction, and Minato and Naruto can time it correctly, maybe they could theoretically seal Madara, or maybe they could seal Jubito if they're quick enough and they time it. Maybe they could, especially due to Jubito having doubts of it as far as his resolve and his conviction. There'd be a window to seal him, or maybe even Madara, who's slower than Jubito. Clearly, maybe they could do that theoretically. You have all these guys that have flying Raijin, Tobirama and Minato work together, and they come up with some convoluted plan to seal Madara and Jubito. It's theoretically possible. Right, it's theoretically possible. Like, for example, while he's being pressed by Senjutsu attacks, right, Sasuke and Naruto throwing Senjutsu at him, Minato and Tobirama come from behind with Itachi's Susanoo, and he fucking Tosuke blades him, and it's GG's. And then they get Madara after, now that he's out of the equation. That's theoretically possible. So that would be a possibility. Most definitely. I don't think it would be easy, but I think it's a possibility. Especially considering that Tobirama was able to tag him. He got, an explosive tag on him. So why wouldn't they be able to teleport Itachi to him if Tobirama was able to do it? Why can't they do it with Itachi? Now, if we're sticking to the story, though, I don't think the Hokages would be brought back to Itachi still being there. Agreed. They probably wouldn't even be brought back. So they would be in a predicament anyway. There would be no flying Raijin available. So it'd still be a problem. All right, folks, 2 more questions. I said that earlier, but 2 or 3 more, because this shit's goated. So. By the way, for you folks that don't know, I'm posting a debate tonight, right? Probably immediately after this pod, or not, like a couple minutes after, a few minutes after. If you guys want to check that out, should be interesting for the majority of the audience that are into the IRL stuff. And actually debate a female that had the guts to debate me. So shout out to her. She had the guts to debate me. Most girls throw out homonyms, cuss me out, block me on Instagram, but she had the guts to do it. She had the guts to face me in a competition of verbal competency. So thank you for that. It's actually very, literally, no jokes, all jokes aside, it's very admirable. Pain pulling up to the 5 Kage. I kind of agree with Seth and Swag's discussion. They did a video on that a while ago. I think he'd have definitely better odds than Sasuke did. He had better odds. Chibaku Tensei GG's. I mean, what the hell are they going to do against that? IRL, that's in real life. I think Pain would have a very good shot of beating everyone there. What if he Shinra Tensei's the whole goddamn structure? He doesn't even go inside. He's like, fuck it. I'm going to blow this fucking building sky high and fucking murder everyone. And then I'm going to Chibaku Tensei all their asses. They're all going to fucking die. They wouldn't be able to stop it. They're fucked. So. They're fucked. He has the hacks to do it. Now, the Raikage, if he's aware that Pain's there, his speed might be a problem. But I do think the odds of him winning are quite good. When are you doing call-ins again? Probably next week. Even if my co-hosts fucking flake again, I'm probably just going to do it anyway. I'll probably just do it solo. Even if because I was going to do it today, but they flaked. So I was like, I'll just stick to the regular scheduled programming. But I'll probably do it on my own if they don't show up next week anyway. I'll have it set up either way. Alright, folks. I think that is all. It's nearly 3 hours. Shit's goated. Thank you to you guys for the donations once again, and all the previous donations and other live streams. You guys are fucking goated for that. Great questions. I do think Pain would still be able to react to Raikage due to him reacting to stage 1 Naruto, and Naruto was fighting 3rd Raikage. It's a good argument, yeah. He even states that his reaction times are better in that mode, right? So, and if Tendo's able to compete with that, then you could deduce, well, he can fuck with the 4th. It's a good argument for that. So yeah, but yeah, folks, I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. In about 20 minutes or so, I'm gonna post a debate, so stay tuned for that. It's very interesting, at least in my opinion, and I'm sure most of you will think that as well. And more content coming, original content as well. Call-in show probably next week. So if you guys want to come into that as well, I probably will be doing a live call-in show where you guys can ask questions. Maybe someone maybe will have the guts to talk shit to me. Hopefully, I kind of hope for the violence, But hope you guys enjoyed it, folks, and I'll catch you next one, folks. Peace out.